Happy to call to order our June 25th River Street Ad hoc meeting. Can we start with the roll call?
Yes. So Counselor Turgeson,
Here.
Counselor McBride,
Here.
Teddy Gora,
Here.
Bob Woodruff,
Here.
Jim Talt,
Here.
Stephen Bertel,
Here.
Jacob Heister,
Here.
Mark Seeger,
Here.
and David Hetty was supposed to be joining us virtually, but I don't see him yet.
Okay. Next we have pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Brady was told to use his own name clearly,
Clearly.
so as to be identified to the
Yes.
right end.
And then next we have public comments, which we have one. So Joan?
That is the name I'm gonna go by
Yeah.
for now, just my anonymity and safety, but, I just want, I didn't know we would do it before the conversation rather than after. But I just wanted to really speak up and advocate about the preservation of resources that can't be replaced. I think that that's something that I really, really respect, and I'm really grateful for the really financial wisdom that Mr. Worthy
Or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I've learned a lot about like all the ways that he's really helped Newburgh, and you guys have done a really great job making sure we're being very mindful with our budget, with our money, and that we're actually in a surplus right now. And that's something that I just really, really, really honor and appreciate, and think that that's something you guys are really good at. And would also like to advocate that when there's multiple shareholders, multiple voices can actually bring other perspectives that are important as well. And so to me, I just want to reinforce the importance of natural resources that cannot be replaced. The trees, especially the ecosystems, the heat that is gonna be rising and the shade that it's bringing. I know it's something that we talked about a lot, but once it's gone, it's gone. Like, yeah, that's not something that's coming back. And so I really, really appreciate the opportunity that we have to come together and work together and collaborate. But I just wanted my voice to be heard specifically about the preservation of our urban canopy and the preservation of our natural resources, which, I mean, let's just quote the Lorax, okay? We've all seen the Lorax, we've all seen Avatar, we've seen we've seen every movie in the history of time where we're prioritizing money and things like that, which is important. And we also need to preserve the other things that are just as important and actually irreplaceable. So I just wanted to say that. Oh, also, I have a pretty great following that I've created on, it's called Protect Your Land Newburgh. And so it's on Instagram, and we also have some really great resources on there for people that want to understand NERA and things like that. So I've been a big active part in ensuring that, I don't know, we're coming together as a community and working together and making sure that all voices are heard and recognized. So just wanted to advocate for that as well. And I appreciate all that y'all do, really. Thank you.
That's our only public comment, so. TJ, I think you're up with our first item. Talking through.
Yeah.
Starting conversations around design.
So one of our action items that was left off on in the last meeting was to produce one of these 3D renderings of Jim's plan. So I believe this was circulated to all of you already, so you may have already seen it, but it's also up on the screen here. So just a reminder on what Jim's plan was and how it was different than the first three that were presented. Essentially, the road is staying very nearly the same width. It varies 22 to 24 as you go down it. So this maintains two travel lanes at that width. This takes your bike lane and puts it roadside, but separates it from the roadway. planter strip, and then sidewalks. So with this 3D rendering, we've also added in kind of that yellow dash that you see on either side. That is a 2 foot buffer zone that is basically meant to indicate the common additional distance needed to construct the roadway that would be restored once it's done, to restore the whole section. So basically your total impact during construction with Jim's plan is 60 feet in most locations. And then permanent impacts that remain unrestored are 56. So that kind of goes through that. The bike lanes are shown in blue. That's not a requirement. That's just something it's not green, like we talked about last time, but to show the difference there. And that is concrete that's raised, and it can be almost any color actually. So that's kind of an overview of it. But kind of took your 2D image from last time, Jim, and put it into this photorealistic rendering.
So it's 56 feet total.
Yeah, so that would be back walk to back walk.
Okay. So it's actually 23 feet on each side.
Yes.
No,
20,
28 feet each side.
28 total planter strips.
28 plus 28, yeah, 56.
Is there any hard requirements on the width there? We talked about last time and kind of throw out there.
Yeah, so 6 feet is your rule of thumb for leaving enough space to have room for your
Utilities.
stormwater, utilities, all that kind of stuff. Also to have trees in the planter strip, you want a minimum of 6 feet to prevent heaving over time. 5 foot is your minimum width per pro wag for sidewalks, so that's what's driving those. Bike lanes, 5 foot is a minimum recommendation for that width. And then the 12-foot travel lanes are, they could be narrower, but I think Jim, was there a reason you went with 12 instead of 11? It kind of varies.
11 just feels too small to me,
Sure.
particularly if you're hauling a boat down River Street.
Yeah, and from an engineering perspective, we'll do 11-foot lanes, 12-foot lanes. For a road that speed, you could do 11 and still be within normal.
When you said bike lane 5 foot minimum recommended, is that still, there's flexibility? I'm just thinking of some of the, I don't know, contours and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely not recommend going any narrower than 4. I mean, if you just think about the width of a handlebar on a typical bike. The other reason in this situation where you're looking at a great separation.
Yep.
There's a risk there of driving off of it, the narrower it gets, right? So, but yeah, I mean, they can go as narrow as 4 and still be okay.
I guess I don't know, I haven't seen yet on where the construction will start. So is it starting on Third Street?
So 3rd to 11th.
3rd to 11th.
I thought it was 4th.
Yeah, that was 4th for them.
I'm sorry, 4th to 11th. Between 3rd and 4th, there would be a transition. So what we should describe it as is like disruptive impacts for full depth reconstruction would go from 4th to 11th, but between 3rd and 11th, there's probably some striping, other things to modify, but just surface improvements, not coming out of the pavement.
So it's like seven blocks that were,
Yeah, so 7 blocks of full depth, like full removal, rebuild all of it.
So 60 feet total impact, is that pretty symmetrical throughout, or is that gonna be kind of vary depending on where you're at?
Yeah, so at corners, you may have slightly wider impacts. The 2 foot is generally, it's so you can grade back and catch your slope behind it, and then also get form boards for concrete back there.
Sure.
So 2 foot's always a good rule of thumb. You're certainly gonna have localized areas, mostly at the corners where it will probably go a bit further back where you're dealing with bed ramps.
But to this point though, centered on the current center line, hopefully.
Yeah,
That's good.
so this plan would take the existing center line, then just go out even each direction. Because it is symmetrical.
I mean, I was thinking about that on adding, I mean, if we add those bike lanes, it's just gonna be on that street that's gonna have that look of the bike lane. Without, I mean, the other streets don't have it. To me, it's gonna look weird.
Yeah, so
Right,
right,
we have like seven blocks of just that look of a bike lane.
It's what's required. Whenever you work on a road.
yeah, there's other examples where it isn't necessarily up on concrete, but that's what you're saying, right?
Yeah,
Is that there's a physical
Oh,
separation.
you're talking about the upright part.
yeah,
Oh, I see, sorry.
yeah, like, so I mean, none of the other streets in Newburgh are gonna look like that. And it's only seven blocks. I mean, to me, it looks weird that there's gonna be 7 blocks of just that look of a bike lane.
Yeah, I mean, that ties back to that conversation about what a complete street can mean for Newburgh and
Yeah.
what purpose this is supposed to serve. Is it, are we serving bikes, cars and pets, trying to do that equally? Or are we favoring one more than the other?
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, you're right, it would be different because we need to define what the goal is, and if that goal is different, then just common everywhere else.
What's the reason for having it higher? I mean, instead of just. Street level.
Yeah, no, it's literally the only reason is there's a slight increase in safety because there's a differential between.
Well, there's,
Yeah,
there's another aspect too. We have to have the bike lane mandated by state law.
Right.
Have to have a bike lane. We can do it two ways. We can either put it down on the asphalt at street level, or we can do as we do in this design. The problem with putting the bike lane down on the street is, well, now your asphalt becomes much wider, a lot more asphalt work, more maintenance. There's some long-term wear issues with having asphalt where you have trucks and cars driving on one part of it, and little light bicycles driving on the other part. But more than anything, the most important aspect is if the street becomes wider, then at all the corners, the radiuses of those corners change, and that's what starts impeding the starts running into the existing PG&E lines and things like that. And it's only by taking this bike lane and putting it up at grade level and keeping the street down narrower as it is now, because the existing street is the same width as this. By doing that, you're allowed to, we don't have to be shifting the street around to avoid telephone poles. And then if we do the street wide with the bike lanes down on it, now we're driven to start going back to options 2 and 3 that none of us like. Because now we've got to dodge those power poles.
yeah,
And that means we got to shift one way or shift the other way, and that either takes Stevens 5 feet of Stevens yard, or it takes 5 feet on the west side. And so having this narrower street allows us to avoid that, stay symmetrical, and not take 5 feet off one side of the street or the other side of the street. And
Yeah.
that's the main advantage to my way of thinking.
and to add to
Yeah, and it keeps cars off bike lanes, because I personally feel way better riding up on something that's
yes,
like that.
the safety element is what, just having that physical separation. Keeping the road more constrained will naturally slow drivers down anyways, because it will.
That's true too.
So that helps from our perspective. From a bike perspective, it feels safer just because you are a little bit elevated, and if a car does hit that curb, it's still a 6-inch curb, so there's more likelihood that they're not gonna pop up on it. So there's a lot of safety elements to it. One other thing to speak on about the heat that was mentioned in the public comment too, concrete tends to reflect heat better because it's lighter, and then asphalt tends to absorb it and heat things up. So the wider road you have, more asphalt will have that effect as well.
Yeah, so on the bicycle path, will there be an edge? So that somebody's riding along, if they're not paying attention too much, looking around or whatever, and they don't go off somehow onto the road.
So there's a couple.
Drop down.
Yeah, there's a couple philosophies for what you can do. When the road is as low speed as this, your risk is lower, so you can just look at a vertical curve, but you have a drop, so there's a safety question. Some of the examples that were circulated, which I think we'll show here in a little bit, have more of a rolled curve, so if a bike goes down, it's not just straight down. But you have to balance that with a car too, because you don't want it to be so mountable that a car can just drive right up.
Right,
So you gotta strike that balancing point. With this being a low speed road, you have more flexibility in it, but it is a safety concern, so for sure.
And you might not know off the top of your head, but are there upcoming or future projects where this type of bike infrastructure could be used? Just thinking, you know, yeah, I agree with you. One of the challenges with Elliott and with this is just looking different than the rest of town. Could this become a template for how it could be copied?
The nice thing about this is that you can build it this way within the existing adopted collector section, so the answer to that is yes. Now, is there specific projects that are programmed? I don't think that's identified, but go ahead, Will.
Yeah, so actually, one of the things I really like about this idea, and this is an idea I have never seen before. It creates many of the advantages that we didn't imagine before in a tighter cross section. So I can see applicability for this in many other places. For example, if the city ever has the money to do more improvements on Main Street or something, which might be in a street for the future, this type of cross section would be tight enough to have less impact on homeowners.
Have the photos of the example strips that
Yes.
show with the different curve types, just to.
Sorry, how many blocks are there in the future plan between 11th and whatever the riverfront, like roughly?
It's about approximately four or five, depending on what happens with the railway crossing.
Sorry,
Which also includes a railroad crossing, but the hope is that railroad crossing might, with good luck, be removed, depending on what the ultimate use of no site ends up being.
So that's exactly, yes, more like it is. Yeah, it is.
so.
Yeah, so the photos that are up here, this is an example of a curve that was installed. It is raised and but it's still pretty steep. So if you ride a bike off of it, it'll drop you, but it's not like a perfect vertical curve, right, or vertical edge. So this would be an example of a steeper application. If you scroll down to the next one, this is an example in Hillsborough that is just a vertical curve. So just straight drop if you rode off of it. And if you scroll down one more, this would be the most forgiving example of a curve. This is very flat. It's very easy for cars to drive up onto. So the reason I have these three examples that we circulated is to show that there is a range for what you can do with this. There's not like one rule of thumb. You gotta look at the context of what the road is and choose the one that makes the most sense. Joe.
So you had mentioned about, I guess when Ted was asking some of the requirements, that we could go with a bike lane of 4 feet instead of 5 feet.
Yes, I would not recommend going any narrower than 4, and I would recommend going.
But I kind of like the idea of going 4 feet instead of 5 feet. It just makes less property that, you know, we're taking and.
So this is within the existing, is that what you're about to say?
Well, I was gonna highlight, so one of the issues with the typical section view, not issues, one of the things that has to be discussed, but maybe if you, can you go back to the full section? So, I think it's a great plan. I think that the one caveat or thing to think about is the sidewalks existing today are probably at close to 60 feet. I don't know if you want to measure from end to end sidewalk where they are right now.
Yeah, so this would generally fit within the existing back.
But they're only 3 foot wide.
4.
Are they 4?
Yeah.
Okay, 4 foot wide.
They're mostly 4.
Mostly 4.
And
With
there's a few short 5s.
Yeah.
And in front of Rivercrest, it's all been redeveloped as 5. Mostly it's 4, and there's a couple of places where it's 3. There must be really old sections.
Yeah.
But I think the 60 feet is already kind of established by existing sidewalks. So going narrower doesn't really buy you much.
Right, so we're not taking more property by having a 5-foot lane,
Bike lanes.
because it's already within the existing footprint of the back.
Taking property,
Well, right,
Using more property.
using more property.
There you go.
I guess that leads to the question for me, the high utility power line right in front of my house is already fairly close to the sidewalk. It's a 4-foot sidewalk where my house is. So how would that be compensated for? I mean, you can't exactly build the sidewalk too much closer to the power pole. Unless,
Yeah, so there are depending where the power poles are, there may be locations where you have to meander just a little bit around those areas. So you may have like a 1 foot at the largest arch, more of an encroachment. Jim, you have something out of it.
Yeah, I've spent a lot of time on your corner.
Okay.
Smells great right now.
Yeah, I planted that at my house last week, inspired by yours, by the way. You never know where the engineering design is gonna end up, but I've been out there and I looked at the rule, and it looks to me like the sidewalk could grow 1 foot in the direction of the power pole.
It'd be pretty close.
It would be pretty close, but you have power poles that are in the middle of sidewalks too, and in the middle of sidewalk curb and gutter, you know, pieces, so you can have the sidewalk up against the pole.
Yeah.
It's just, it's a little bit harder for construction, but it can be done.
You can pour around poles.
Right.
ProAg requires 48 inches across as a minimum, like traversable space. Newburgh standard for a minimum width is 5 feet, so we need to start there. But for situations like that where you have a small encroachment into the edge of the sidewalk, as long as you're not narrower than 4 feet, you can actually pour like right up against and you put some expansion joint material in there to keep the material separate. It's not uncommon, it's just mildly harder to build and you're not gonna have some crazy difference in price. So
But I think that the easterlymost edge of that sidewalk could stay where it is, and the required growth would occur in the westerly direction.
yeah,
We need to add 1 foot to that sidewalk, and there is space between the existing sidewalk and the pole to get that 1 foot. The unfortunate truth of the matter is, because I was just out there again today. Because there is a construction access, what do we call it, temporary construction impact zone. The likelihood is that I think that base of planting right there would be impacted in construction and would have to be replanted. Looking at the bright side though, that's way better than taking 5 feet of your yard.
Absolutely.
Permanently, so. And I noticed.
Figure out how to break it to my wife.
Yeah, I know, I would come down and help dig and plant, got to that later, but. Yeah, that is too bad.
the 2 foot, again, that is a rule of thumb. So if there's not a dramatic change in grade that's necessary in that point, I mean, you can go as narrow as the width of the board that you pour the concrete up against.
Yeah,
But if you have a change in grade, that's where you need more space to tie it back.
and
So
so, yeah,
through design, again, I say the 2 foot rule of thumb because I want us all to understand there are some impacts beyond the back of that sidewalk. But as you go through design, there's gonna be parts that are narrower, there's gonna be parts again, like at the corners that are probably wider.
but it's not a foregone conclusion that they would have to be disturbed, but there's a possibility.
And it would be restored, though it would change your.
Just avoid it.
One thing that my hope is for the group here is that actually if there are flower beds or things that do get impacted, that there's still going to be a mechanism by which we can get those things put back and fixed. Albeit with, with new flowers or with new plantings or whatever might have to happen. And so I'm imagining that post some construction phase, this group could meet together and plan for some of that and use public funds to do some of that.
Yeah, Mark.
Jerry, I'm not sure if this is the right time, because I'm not, sure where we're at with this. I emailed you about the possibility of one-way street, so I don't know where that fits in, so I'm just throwing it out there for whenever.
Yeah, no, I think a one-way street is part of design, so I think that fits very well here. So, TJ, do you wanna start?
Yeah, so there's 2 things to consider when you're thinking about splitting this into a couplet. And for sake of discussion, I'm assuming that Chehalem would potentially be the road you consider for the couplet because of how College Road ties into the other couplet in downtown, it becomes a bit of a navigation nightmare if you were to go with College Road. So the only one that makes functional sense if you were to do that is Chehalis. So two things with that. One, there's a technical land use planning consideration where Chehalis is a local road, River is a collector. So we would need to ask Scott what the impacts of that is, and I don't know the answer to that yet. So that's like a very technical planning thing, right? The other thing is Chehalis is just not in good shape. So if you walk that road, other than I believe the block between 4th and 5th, which has been repaved, almost the entire length of the road is alligator cracked. And alligator cracking is that cracking you see that is like very expansive, small, creating really like joints everywhere, spiders out. Basically what that indicates is the asphalt has failed, and when you get that type of cracking, the base is starting to fail as well. So even if you take half the traffic off of River and you shift it onto that road, if you don't repave that road and rebuild the base in that, it's going to blow out. You're gonna have all kinds of potholes up and down the whole thing because it's not currently designed for that. So that's the cost consideration. So you're kind of you're going from one road to really doing improvements on two. And that I haven't done a budget on that specifically yet, but you're gonna have a lot of money to be spent to do both.
We have no money for that.
I have a lot of comments to make about that plan, but I start by asking the question, what would be accomplished? What would we accomplish by doing one couplet, one way combo?
I'm actually thinking that, I'm not an engineer, so I don't know how far you have to dig in either direction, right? To the east or to the west. But I'm thinking as far as like keeping the look of River Street, like would trees be saved? Would the essentially the look of River Street that it is now, would that be saved by making it a one-way street? Like, would we have to go so far out to remove things that all the trees would get taken up? Or would all that get to stay? Because ultimately, whatever design we choose, River Street's not gonna look the same anymore.
So
It's mostly about the identity of the street as it is now. And I'm just trying to be creative, thinking about how to preserve that and still accomplish what we all want to accomplish, which is a good road. But
the single biggest challenge with River Street, no matter what you do, if you made it as one A or not, is that 100-year-old concrete that's underneath the road. If you want this new road to last the life that it should, you've got to get that out of there.
because you gotta go
And
full
you,
width.
the width of existing river, and you gotta peel it out. And just because of the nature of tree roots, you're gonna get into tree roots right now. So I think we talked about this in the first one. There is ways to pave over the top of that old concrete, but there's 2 trenches that run down it that don't have concrete, and I don't need to rehash the whole conversation. You'll like half the lifespan of your investment if you opt to do that. So that is always the challenge with anything.
Yeah. So that 100-year-old road, you can't just pull out like most of it. You have to keep going and get every single bit of it out. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
I mean, you can engineer just about anything, it's just gonna not have as long of a lifespan. So your longest return on investment is to get that 100-year-old material out of there, because it will just continue to degrade.
Chehalis Street tying back into River is also kind of there's 2 things. One is how they tie back in, it actually makes sense, because on the ends, there's not like a beautiful spot to have them re-merge together. And Chehalis and 3rd, if you guys have driven that, is very, very narrow. It's not even wide enough for 2 cars right now. So you end up with that. Plus, how is Chehalis currently being used? I think a lot of people park their cars on it, and like a ton of parked cars on Chehalis. And then you're now moving impact from 1 road to 2 roads, which just seems like a big. We have to go ask all the questions about what's the impact of Chehalis now, not just River when we consider it. So.
I had a similar thought. It was interesting, Margaret, you had emailed about adding it to the agenda, and I had actually had multiple community members this last week and a half or 2 weeks that had approached me and asked about one way, so it's just interesting that it's bubbled up in a number of spaces, because I similarly went out and walked and looked at Chehalem, and Chehalem has the on-street parking, it gets pretty narrow, and then I was impact for everybody, like both River Street and Chehalem, like accessing homes, people getting in and out of homes, in and out of driveways, and there isn't a graceful way for my psychologist right now, right, to like loop it all back in together.
It's always challenging for.
An entire grid that isn't a couplet. So usually you see communities either fully commit to a grid being one way over and they alternate, or none of them are. Because it gets, just from a user perspective, it really starts to confuse people when you have random sections that are one ways and others that are not. So you go to most cities will have the goal of either making them all unidirectional or all bidirectional. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a number of other things we might get to also on that, but I'll just add 2 additional points. Even with a one-way street, we have to repair the sidewalks. We have an ADA responsibility that has to be met. And in all cases of those heritage or centennial trees, they are all, particularly in that first block of 4th Street, significantly disrupted the sidewalk, and repair of that sidewalk would almost certainly result in fatal damage to those trees. So there's the ADA responsibility that would ultimately result in the removal of those trees. The other thing is just imagine this. Right now we have one street, 7 blocks long, of unhappy residents. Well, if we went with Chehalem, now we'd have 2 streets of 7 blocks long, we have twice as many unhappy residents. Because as someone mentioned already, Chehalem Street, people park their cars all up and down the street's in horrible shape. That street would be actually more disrupted in many respects than River Street would be if we tried to channel as much traffic back up. We'd have to equip Chehalem to handle the same amount of traffic that we have to equip River Street for. And it would just be totally disruptive and extremely expensive.
Well,
I could go on, but
I have been asked for many years to make the city run more like a business. And I'm sorry to be the guy that has to bring up money, but I've taken that to heart. And I know that we don't have the revenue. We have revenue for routine grinding inlay repairs. And once in a while, we have the revenue to do a street. And it's kind of like a once a decade thing to do a street. So that's what we have.
I just had heard it mentioned over weeks, and I hadn't heard any like real discussion around it. And so I was glad just to even bring it up to hear why we can and can't.
yeah, thank you.
Or can't do it.
It's a question that should not be left unanswered.
Thank you, Mark. I really wish I had a boatload more money.
Yeah.
To do a lot of things.
But I mean, I think as Mark pointed out, I mean, that the only reason people brought that up is if we can save the trees, if we did the one way, but if we can't, I mean, it's, this look is, I mean, 2-way street is what we should be deciding on.
From everything I've heard, the only way we can save all the trees is to do nothing.
Right.
Which I don't even know if that's an option anymore. I mean, has that been taken off the table? I noticed in the packet, this is an option for, which is, I love this option. Jim did a great job on it, but
Yeah,
is the nothing option still on the table or?
I want to be very cautious and not speaking for the larger council. I think I have heard feedback from the council that from a financial stewardship standpoint, that the do nothing option, because of our limited TAP funding, would be a difficult choice for the council to land on. Like you wanna add?
I'm not open to that at all. That road needs to be fixed,
I agree with you.
and to do nothing will not be on my agenda. I mean, I wanna make it
The do nothing, you're
Please.
leaving the top though, not.
I wanna make it the, you know, a design that's at the least impact to everybody. But, and I like this option that Jim has put together a whole lot better than I like the other options. And so, but to do nothing, I'm not gonna be happy with that. It's gotta get fixed. I mean, it just has to get fixed.
And I think the second half to that historical option 4, correct me if I'm wrong, is that even just doing grind and inlay, we would then still have to do all of the ADA, which would then still impact all of those historical trees. Because we can't grind and inlay without fixing that ADA access.
But at a different,
But we
don't know.
Any two course process. Grind and inlay or slurry sealed with chips or any road lifespan lengthening thing or smaller repair. If it's a 2-pass process, it triggers the ADA anyway. And that's why all of our grind and inlay through the southern districts, and we're about to do another bunch this next 2 months. It's costing us half again what the road surface costs because we have to put all the ramps in and we have to do repairs for sidewalk.
It's the ramps,
Okay.
that's the trigger.
And I have no desire to do that either. I just wanted to be clear with the.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you don't necessarily, it triggers the ramp piece, and that's your most expensive property.
And because the city won't build ramps that are just islands, which is silly, we then end up also putting in some sidewalk sections, like we did on Center Street.
Are there additional thoughts, input about this design?
So we have the intersection piece of this to talk about too, which is also design, but specifically on what's on the screen here is the other. Any other thoughts before we go and look at the intersections?
I have a question. I noticed in the planter strip area, it's identified as stormwater facility. What does that mean to you?
So it can mean a variety of different things. We're required to have some amount of treatment that basically by Oregon DEQ requirements. That can look like planter boxes, like you'll see where the water goes in, sits, is treated, and then it.
You mean a bioswale?
Like a bioswale, right? You can also achieve that by running a whole bunch of linear pipe underground and basically detaining the water in the pipe. So like, the goal of this is to get oils and sediment to settle out and then send it off somewhere else. So it's labeled generically like that because there's a variety of ways to design these things. There's a variety of costs associated with the way you choose to do it. But you have to have it. So we will have to have some sort of facility designed linearly to treat the stormwater. It can look a lot of different ways.
And there's nothing now. It's just collected on the edges.
Yeah, right now there's kind of some random drains on some corners that do connect into, there's a couple pipes that head to, what's the name of the creek in the draw?
Hayes Creek.
By the street. So there's some of it ends up there. It's not properly treated. It basically just drops in the pipe and takes off to the creek currently.
So I'm unclear about where. So I understand what a bioswale looks like, and I know how those are installed. Those are typically in that center area. The swales feed underground piping, right? And where is the underground piping running? Where is it placed in this whole process? Is it underneath further in that same planter strip, or is it out street side? Where is it?
Yeah, so again, you could design these a lot of different ways. So many of them will have like a perf pipe underneath the bioswale, and then it would tie into that pipe that does end up back over at S, but after it's been treated, right? So when you design these things, you look at the whole basin, where does the water ultimately end up, and then how do we treat it first at the source that it is captured, treat it, and then send it basically back to where the basin, like the basin flow point would be, which in this case is Hess Creek. So it doesn't just infiltrate straight into the ground. We did soils testing, you don't have the ability to infiltrate with the soils that are in that part of town. So it has to end up basically back down and Hess is where that basin all drains to.
So for a second. Well, I hate to even bring this up, but let me ask the question. When is the design decision made? Is it made at your preliminary design or is it made later on?
So-
As to whether or not they're gonna be bioswales or submersibles? When is that design? When should we start
Typically-
talking about it?
Typically by 30%, you're gonna wanna have a night, you're gonna wanna know what those are gonna look like. So you would do all the stormwater analysis to see how much area you need. You're not gonna have a road that just has one continuous bioswale the whole distance.
So
They'll start
you're
with
gonna
stuff.
you'll still be involved in the process at that point?
Well, as long as we are, yes, hopefully.
Yeah, okay.
Whatever engineer is designing
If
it,
they are the successful bidder,
if we are the successful.
Oh, I thought you were like a preliminary design.
So we're currently on board for up to 10%. The city is required by state law to go out for a proposal to take
Okay.
this thing into the next stage.
I
But,
think it's the right thing to do.
right,
Well, okay, the reason I asked that, because I didn't want to waste my breath on the wrong engineer.
I fully intend to be involved. Yeah.
Well,
But I can't say with 100% certainty.
let me just express an opinion that
Yeah.
is very likely not shared by everybody. I think typically bioswales, well, I don't like the way they look. They tend to go unloved and untended, and they tend to turn into either wheat bins or the homeowner who's maintaining them gets fed up with them and cuts them all out, poisons everything, and now the whole concept of the bioswale is lost. And it's no longer a bioswale, it's just an open ditch with garbage in it. And they just look horrible. Drive down College and look at them, they're just crappy. So my suggestion would be, what my personal preference would be for the street is go with submerged vaults. And I would prefer if it was mechanically able to do that in the bike lane, under the bike lane, rather than under the planting strip. Because for one thing, if you do it in the planting strip, you gotta disturb more trees and more plants. But if you do it over in the bike lane, you have an opportunity to preserve a few more trees and stuff. But also, it's just way better.
Does submerged vault meet modern design?
So there's a ton of products that are designed for exactly what we're talking about.
Portland.
The reason you see storm planter boxes everywhere and all of the problems you listed with them, Jim, are exactly right. Nobody maintains them. Everybody gets annoyed with them, all the plant staff, and they don't serve their purpose. But the reason you see them is because they're the cheapest option. And so that's why they get built that way. There's all kinds of other products. There's a lot of ways to design these things.
And Portland,
Yeah,
and when I say Portland, I mean PDX. That city does accommodate submerged boxes,
Yeah.
but they promote, where possible, where feasible, bioswales. But that's typically only works when the city has stepped forward and said, and we will maintain them and take care of them.
yeah.
Yeah, so the submerged boxes, is it certain that they have to exist on River Street? Or they have to exist before the exit to Hess? Like, is that as part of?
It's before the exit test. So
Okay.
one of the other things we looked at early on is there any place where you could build a pond to send everything to detain it to? The soils are absolutely like really bad, so it very clayey, so the water sits, it almost creates like a clay layer. But you're right, it doesn't have to be treated on site, but typically within the context of a project,
Sure.
the area you're disturbing is where you try to do it. Unless you have a piece of land where you can send it all and treat it in a pond and then take it somewhere else.
Like the mill state.
Yeah.
Yes, I was thinking.
Well, that's, the soils of the mill site, that whole site is so disturbed, I mean, that's the challenge.
But it's a submerged box, why does it matter if it's?
Well, I'm sorry about that pond.
Oh, sure.
So,
The giant swell.
Yeah.
But down there where the homeowners don't have to look at it and it's kind of hidden and it's, like you said, next.
yeah,
So,
so the answer to that, Jim, is there's a lot of different solutions that can be had. You always have to look at it from a cost perspective as well, but
yeah,
you don't just have to have a bioswale around the whole distance.
I just wanted to
Yeah.
get my opinion out on there. We don't want bioswales. I don't want bioswales. I want submerged boxes that don't.
You
Jim
can't see.
said it much more eloquently than I could. I agree, I don't like the ugly ditches.
I agree.
And I don't think that fits the character of the neighborhood.
Unless there's a difference in maintaining, like you said, because like, I work at land research, we have households there, they look decent, and because they're maintained. But yeah, expecting homeowners to know what to do and do it, I think is another challenge, they're just different, right? Different type of landscaping required for them, so.
And some people plant them and do all kinds of things with them, and some people just
Yeah.
don't do anything. But the other thing is I believe this is true, actually, long term, even though short term, bioswales are cheaper. Maybe I should say less expensive than submerged vaults. Well, long term, submerged vaults have a longer life expectancy, and long term, they're actually potentially easier to maintain,
Yes,
cheaper to maintain. And so,
It's because you bury them and you forget, you don't have to maintain them all the time. Whereas with a box, surface box, you really should be cleaning out the media.
yeah, they need
replacing
some
it.
routine silt maintenance
Right.
every 5 or 6 years, it's just like a regular pipe maybe. But
Right.
long term, they're a better option. So anyway, that's my vote.
I think they're terrible. Everybody thinks they're terrible. So I agree.
Okay, well, now we know what we want.
Stormwater have to be encapsulated as a complete finished design as part of the project, or can it be part of a plan to do like piping, but this topic we're talking about of treating?
Yeah, like horse trading the treatment,
Was that,
you'd like not addressing the treatment within this, because you're gonna, so there are like really macro level situations where if you say we're not gonna do anything to River Street, we're gonna leave it in its condition.
well, I meant pipe it, but not necessarily, because the boxes under the bike lane, is that even enough area? Or volume?
Yeah, they're big vaults, I mean, you'll get enough area.
Okay.
I think maybe I'm misunderstanding your question. There are projects that basically leave the existing conditions how they are, but they have another project somewhere else in
Yeah.
that basin that is already.
I'm saying pipe it
Yeah.
somewhere and have a plan to treat it. That doesn't necessarily have to be encapsulated. I'm not saying you have to, that's,
Yeah, so if you don't use vaults, you can pipe it somewhere else and treat it before, usually it's a pond. Usually you find a way to do a pond, so you usually need some piece of land somewhere to dig the pond.
And about the mill site, CDC is not gonna let us do that.
Why, we weren't suggesting on the mill site.
Very close.
Build the factories we need here, but sorry about the lagoon.
Is there
Typically across the old.
a potential site or sites for sending it to and doing a pond somewhere?
So the only one we looked at initially was down at the mill site, because it's a big open spot of land, generally that's where all the grades are going. Everything else that heads west, or sorry, east toward Hess Creek is residential plots. I don't know if there's one that is potentially open off the top of my head, but that's what you would have to find. And then you would have to talk to the homeowners around it, make sure they're okay with.
And as in that, if you do vaults under the bike lane or such, you would still need to have a pond or? does
No,
it- Okay.
no,
well,
they'd be out,
the
they'd be
vault
outside
doesn't
of
necessarily need for a pond, okay.
What you would need to do is, the city would need to have a maintenance plan, to like get the silt out of them.
Yeah,
But no, you would also, if you would send it to a pond.
so there'd be like an access limit or something, yeah, but there would need.
And that's easier because the CCTV truck and that equipment and the back truck, that's a lot easier to clean a line. We clean lines every day. It's easier than removing the silt, replanting and all this other shenanigans than.
Should we go on to the intersection general discussion?
okay, so the other thing we talked about at our last session is looking at how do we add character to River Street? These intersections were discussed. There's some advantages to these design wise when you have grade separated bike lanes. Because it brings the whole intersection up, so it eliminates your ADA challenges of having to have your bike lane go up and down at every intersection. It also creates, it has the effect of creating traffic calming because there's small ramps at intersections where cars slow down to go up. So I wanted to provide some examples so folks can see what that can look like. So there's 3 here, and I'll talk through. I'm not saying these are the right answer for River Street, but these are examples of different places where this application's at. So this one's actually in Boise, Idaho. This whole intersection is raised. So if you walked off the sidewalk, the grade never changes. It's all the same through there. And so bikes basically just breeze right across it, pedestrians do, and the cars slow down. It's a little hard to see on this screen, but you can see the arrows
on the way with the car that's coming this direction, that's because there's a change in grade in the road rather than at a pedestrian. So the pedestrian ramp's not going down to meet the road is actually coming up to meet the sidewalks and the bike lanes. This has some kind of unique concrete work. Again, I'm not saying this is the right thing for, the character of River Street, but this is an example. You can do some unique stuff when you have the latitude that this creates. Let's roll the next one. This is an example of one that meets in the middle, so the road comes up halfway and then the ramps come down halfway, so it's not completely flat, but it's kind of a halfway approach. I believe this one was in Beaverton. If you wanted to go look at it, you can see they have a great separated multi-use bike lane over there, but it's the same idea. So there's basically that's making that splitting it evenly between the users for who's going up, who's going down.
So that's to slow down the cars, right?
Correct, yeah, that's the effect it has on traffic. Then this is in McMinnville, this is an example of a squared off intersection where everything's up at grade. And again, it's in this case, with the way the grade worked out, it's a smaller distance, but it has the same effect, like you're talking about, Ted, where it slows the cars down, which is advantageous for safety of all users. So for River Street, you wouldn't have to do that at every intersection. You could say, we don't like this, so I won't do it at none of them, and just design it normally, but it is a way to give some character to intersections and also gain some functionality for bikes and peds and slow down traffic, all kind of in one traffic.
I like all the examples you provided. Were you able to find any like in a strictly residential area of a design similar to this one?
Yes, this McMinnville one, I think one of these buildings is a restaurant, but this is mostly residential. The Boise one is in downtown, so that's not a residential example. And then that Beaverton one is in kind of a business park, multi-use park, so you can kind of find them around in different areas. Usually where you find them the most is on when you're in a neighborhood, is clear, like if people are being drawn to that area, like there might be a restaurant, not necessarily on the road, but nearby or something like that. So they're around, there's no like one place to apply them, it just depends on what your goals are.
It'd just be nice to kind of see the application, in a residential area of, a plan similar.
Yeah, if you have time to go look at this one and make maybe this is a good example.
Okay, you know what that intersection is? Oh,
House
it's-
nice.
Yeah.
I was thinking similar, some of those examples, it looks real big, expansive and kind of cold and sterile, but
Yeah.
this is one of the things which I got really excited about was that potential for traffic calming as part of this project. And I hope is that it could be done in a way that wasn't sterile and cold like that.
Yeah, and you can do unique things with the concrete too, like that, if you scroll back up to the Boise example, you could put a pattern in it. It's not gonna add a tremendous amount of cost, we'll add some, you can color it, you can do different things that they created with it. But it needs to fit with the character, so there's a lot of thought that goes into that. But it gives you a lot of latitude to do some unique stuff that's specific to your project, and then calm the traffic down as well. Obviously, when you're standing or driving, it doesn't look like this. You're only gonna see this view from the sky, but it does look nice when you're at. It feels less sterile when you're at that level, right? You're not just looking down on concrete, you're also seeing trees, you're seeing pads, bikes, you're seeing everything.
Two comments. I think, just to be clear, I did not bring this up as a suggestion. It came out of discussion, so
I think I brought it up.
this is not my idea. They're quite a bit more expensive to install, is that correct?
If you do them in concrete, they are, and you're typically gonna wanna do them in
Yeah.
concrete.
Yes.
The nice thing is that you do it in concrete, you're not gonna touch them for 80 years.
Right,
So life cycle costs, how many years? 50 to 80 is the typical concrete. Just for the intersections, the pavement's gonna be 10 to 20.
and the other, just observation. Yeah, it's an observation. You can get traffic calming out of the stop sign too.
Hmm.
The stop sign's pretty cheap, and whenever I've seen these things, they always just look strange to me. And think when we talk about the character of River Street and how that will look is important to people. I don't know that would feel bad once it was in there. But just sitting here thinking about it, it just doesn't seem to me like that would fit. It would look too downtown Beaverton to me or something. I don't know. I don't think it would look good. But I could be wrong on that though.
Yeah, again, you probably wouldn't do every intersection, like you choose some points to have them be like centerpieces of your street, so.
So, question. Jim's point, stop signs require a full traffic study, correct? Does that apply?
Yes, but given that we're gonna we do the whole survey, design, the engineering to create stop signs would be part of the package, if that's a prepared. Yeah, it could all be part of it.
I'm myself personally, I'd rather have a stop sign than a raised intersection. Because I'm used to stop signs and raised intersections, they just think it looks strange.
Wasn't there something with the raised bike lanes that if we did raise bike lanes but didn't do raised intersections and there was some weird like interchanges and stuff like that?
We're just.
or-
Yes, so if you have those intersections, the grade of the bike lane never changes, so for a biker's experience, they just go straight through. Otherwise, you're going up, down, and so it creates a more challenging ADA. Basically ramp design at every intersection if you're going back down the grade every time.
It makes it more complicated, but not, it doesn't have to be.
It doesn't have to.
It can be done really nicely and it is done well
Yeah.
in many places. It's not like the street who should not be named.
But so what's missing is an example because, actually, do we have to have separate grades for bike, pedestrian, road?
You don't have to,
Okay.
but that would take us back to that first conversation about,
Yeah.
Everything, safety.
Yeah. So that's how we got there, right? Let's take, so I said, you're different heights, so what do you choose? Do you choose the up, down, or bring the cars up? And I think we have one example of a street that shall not be named that no one likes, but we have an example of one that's that concept where the street stays where it is and,
Yeah, so the Elliott Road just goes up and down a lot. Right, every driveway.
But I think it would be good to see an example of one that we agree looks okay,
Yeah.
if we're gonna talk about that, otherwise, I think this, I agree to an extent on the look and character stuff, but I think that, it doesn't have to be an oddball look,
You don't have to do any of this like multicolor.
yeah, I think.
Like you can do concrete
You
too.
don't wanna do that.
Yeah, but I can find some examples to circulate of where it works normally. The hardest thing about, there's more driveways on Elliott, so there's more places where it does this all the time. There are some on River, but not as many, so you're not gonna have that condition as much.
Okay.
But it's still, you would still have places where it's
But
gonna go up and down.
there's really not a problem with the bike lane as it approaches the intersection and roadway. There'll be a nice long gentle. There'll be a gentle, extra long slope as the bike lane approaches the street
Yeah.
until it gets to the street level. And then an equal gradual slope on the other side, and then it'll really be no big deal. And that'll look fine and it wouldn't be a problem. And also, as we mentioned, there are lots of driveways on the river, and the bicyclists will be doing that anyway as they cross driveways, which has a nice calming effect.
So the driveways, if we were to opt within the design for one of the mountable curves, not a vertical curve, but an angled one, you can actually keep the bike lane. You don't have to change the grade of the bike lane and driveways. You just have a mountable curve to drive up in driveways.
Yeah, though.
So there's two different ways you can go down if you have a vertical curve, but you can meet that in the middle. It's a little bit of a bump for homeowners, but you're pulling into your driveway, so it is what it is in that situation.
But
I mean, for me, there's only 7 blocks that.
Yeah.
We're gonna be. I don't think we need to, I mean, there's already 2 stop signs there's like one on 4th and 6th. And 6. I mean, if you install one more, I think that's enough to slow down traffic on rivers.
So where you
For
would
the
use,
7 blocks that we're paving.
yeah, where you a lot of times see these type of things is to mark like the start and the end of a corridor. So in
Yeah.
this case, you might see it in the third and then 11th. And so it's like you've entered this part of River Street that is unique, right? And then everything in the middle is just a normal intersection. There's no one way to do it, but that's a lot of times how you would see it is like, you know, you're entering this new River Street corridor because we potentially put those at the start and end of it.
So on Elliott, I'm trying to think how you delineate the curve, I don't know how to explain it, but they use the green paint when that bike lane comes down to the grade. They have the green paint to kind of show where the curve is. How do you delineate that corner for folks as you come down?
So you don't have to have it be any specific color. It has to just be a different color than the material next to it. So concrete, you can have concrete swing away from asphalt and that meets that intent.
And then, okay, that's
And
what
you don't have to paint it green, you don't have to paint it blue, you don't have to do anything.
so it doesn't necessarily need to be painted. Concrete would achieve
Yeah, because it's gonna be visually different than the asphalt.
and more durable than any paint, no matter what color.
Did you tell me that there was like, a stop kind of like box that option?
So the two places where you could get a bike box installed is like at the major intersections of Wynooski and Fourth. You don't have to.
Oh, okay.
No. But those are the places where you might consider it, if you say that's not, you don't do that. You don't have to. Bike box. There's like a bike box is a painted area, so let's say if you were headed north and you get to Fourth, where a lot of people would take that left to right, along the backside of downtown, you may actually paint what is called a bike box, bikes can come out of the traffic and like that,
That's safety, is that like prison punishment safety standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, studies will say that's safer, which is why you'll see it. The con is you have to maintain more paint in the road. And if you don't have a biking, I mean, it's gonna be used to varying degrees. So people who are gonna utilize a bike box are gonna be pretty high confident bike riders.
Yeah.
If you're not gonna go out into traffic, right? You're not gonna be comfortable with that.
On this design, what's the expectation of a biker that wants to take a left? What are they supposed to do?
With the raised intersection?
Yeah.
It wouldn't be any different than if it was down below. They can either come out into traffic or they can use
Well, they can't come out into traffic until the intersection, so they're supposed to come out a block early and then get into the road to take a left, or are they supposed to take a left as a pedestrian,
yeah, I mean, the majority of your users are not gonna, that's what I mean by high confidence rider. Like the
Yeah.
guy who's riding with traffic in the lane is already gonna be where he's supposed to be to make that left. And then the lower confidence riders that aren't gonna wanna be out in the street are gonna kind of use the crosswalks as if they were heads. So.
yeah, that
That's
actually
kind of what it-
kind of introduces that's a huge pet peeve of mine, is bikers that think they have act like both a car and a pedestrian.
Yeah.
So whichever one suits them for the particular intersection, and that can be very confusing for drivers if there's not stop signs.
And unfortunately, that's a behavioral thing. It's very hard to design.
Well, but this particular design might promote that more than, because, well, any design that separates the bike lane from the road promotes that at the intersection, I'm a biker and I have free right of way to take a left in front of a car.
Yeah, maybe slightly more, but I don't think there's any way to engineer that out of people. I think they're,
Non-separated bike lanes is one way to engineer.
well, even then, they'll just jump out into the lane at any point.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, yeah, at least being able to have the opportunity to
I
follow the right rules, and I don't even know how, yeah. Okay.
in my experience, I found that people, when you're on a grade separated bike lane, will actually stay in the lane longer because they don't want to go down the drop. When you just have a painted line, a fog line to go over, that's where you see the bikes that ride.
Yeah.
Right on the fog line, they just move over whenever they want. So I actually think when you have the race bike lane, it kind of disincentivizes bikers from doing that, but at the intersection, you still have to get, it's hard to escape. So just to put a bow on this discussion, this wasn't a requirement, but it's just something that when we were talking about, how do you consider ways to add character to the street? If that's something that the committee wanted, you can do it, and it works with the design that Jim came up with. You don't have to do it, and you can just treat them normally as well,
I
but
don't think it's needed.
Yeah.
For 7 blocks, where they have 2 stop signs, maybe just add another one, that'll slow down the traffic over there on River Street. I mean, for me, I mean, seeing the cars and cars with, or trucks with boats on there, they'll slow down if you had another one, maybe on 9th Street or 7th Street.
Between Main and, yeah, with the one-way split at Hoover Park right there and the stop sign between 3rd and 4th, people drive very fast. Like they fly on that 2 blocks, 3 blocks, when it was
You mean by your house?
right by my house.
that's
The
surprising.
reason why is because the pavement is nice,
Yeah.
and the pavement is nice from beyond 4th. That's not gonna be true anymore. Well, and you kind of have a double whammy because it's kind of
So
big and
wide.
wide. Yes, and it's gonna be wider now too. We're gonna have 12 instead of 11. So I'm saying I wouldn't trust that those stop signs are gonna do anything. So they'll
Very
slow
slow
down.
down, I mean, cause their stop sign is right, it's right above my house.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll slow
No,
down.
I know, but the pavement right now is not very well done. It's got cracks everywhere, so people go slow on River, but where it's nice on River, they go very fast.
So there's data on this, when you pave a road and it's smooth, people add 5 to 10 miles per hour, just by default.
I would agree with you, because I have noticed since Center Street has been redone, cars fly by my house now.
Yeah.
Where they never did before. It's, feel free to add a camera, Will. It's wild.
Yeah, I know the aesthetics of this is something you consider a lot of items on, but I would say what it does, what this does to slow people down is something really to think about, because otherwise it is added stop signs, which is a different impediment of traffic you don't necessarily want. You just want people going a reasonable speed. You don't want them stopping every 2 blocks.
We could add a speed camera. It would have a definite punitive effect for those going faster than 11 miles over the listed speed limit.
Speed camera on River Street.
If you guys want
First stop sign, you see this, I've got.
But I think that comes back to like, even like 10 miles an hour on a small residential street with kids, like, that's big.
So my point on stop signs, I agree with stop signs are good, but I'm saying right now, there's a 3 blocks, that's not that long, and people will get up to 45 miles an hour and 25.
There's 600-foot blocks, I mean, people will get up to.
So it doesn't matter how many stop signs you put, unless you put on every block, you're not gonna slow people down, but if you add a couple of these along with stop signs.
The
that-
other, your stretch of the street is much wider going forward towards River Street.
And
It feels like a freeway.
It does, and we're talking about making this part of River Street 2 feet wider, which is not a lot, but it is gonna feel more.
You know,
The thing
I-
is-
people keep saying it's 11 feet, but it's not. Whenever I go out there and measure it, the existing street, and I was out there today, is 12 feet.
Oh, it is.
It's just sometimes a little hard to tell where the street begins because the curve is so deep. But it's a 12-foot wide
Okay.
per-lane street, and
The
that's
thing-
what this is.
The thing that's gonna make people go faster is backwards.
Yeah.
I mean, people go slower down right now because they get jostled around. Once it's smooth, people will go faster. So that's why you wanna think about traffic calm.
People go fast even though it's a violent drive right now, like people are.
They do.
Towards 8.
I will say these things will jolt you pretty good if you design them. There's a balance point where if somebody goes up on that with their car,
Catch you.
remember it. They won't catch you.
That's incentive.
It's insane, yeah. I mean, you can design them to slow people down, I feel.
But a speed camera street,
That's.
Oh, and raises revenue for Will.
I was doing now.
But it is free, but it's also temporary, you know, it's not gonna be there forever. And one thing I personally like about the raise is it's gonna be there, like you said, for 60 to 80 years, it's gonna be there slowing folks down.
Can you scroll back down to one that doesn't have a crazy pattern?
Yeah.
On it?
I've seen both. I've seen some awful ones that look just unnatural, that they shouldn't be placed anywhere. And then I've seen some that you don't even know they're there until kind of like it dawns on you, something changed. Right? Like this bottom one, I've been to that intersection. And that actually, when you're there, feels very natural and you know, anything else on River Street, I think would be awful. I think it would be terrible. But
Well, could we move forward with the idea of approving a design concept and yet come back to this this question of the raised intersection? I think we have time to talk more about that, but it would be nice if we could say yay or nay to the existing proposal as it stands so that the city can move forward.
Yeah, this design that we're talking about for the linear distance of the road works with raised intersections and works without them. So this decision would need to be made. This could even be made further in the design, probably if you get there.
So you're saying, Jim, put a pin in the possibility of the concrete sections for now and just focus on the overall design?
I'm saying, gee, I'd like to see a motion to move forward with the existing design that's on the table for us so that we can free the city up to start taking the next steps and still have time as time goes on for this group to maybe go down to McMinnville and drive that street and later decide, yeah, you know, TJ, the committee thinks we'd like to throw in this, one of these at Peace Street or wherever. But I'd like very much to see us move forward with the design.
What's the intended lifespan of this committee? Like, I know that it kind of goes into what he's saying, that if you have a motion raised to vote on option 4, which I like option 4, but what is the expectation for continuing with this project? I guess, I don't know, what else to ask that.
So I think I had better phrasing with the first name. This committee is in place until it has reached its intended result, which is something that I think as the chair, I get to determine. Was that what it was written? My hope is that we are not having a design debate 2 years from now.
Right.
So I think to Jim's point, is there value that, like, yes, this is a design that in preliminary phases fits the spirit of River Street and the community and the livability of River Street, and it's something we would like to pursue more formally.
But is that the end of us as a committee then, or?
Oh,
Okay.
oh,
I wanna
no.
make sure. I wanna make
Y'all are stuck with me.
sure. Well, I just, I
We're here for
think,
2 years.
okay, great. No, I think the point is I don't want that to be like us signing off on something that we don't really know what it is.
So what I would be curious about, and will you tell me, and Mike, if I'm, so if we said as a committee, we're really curious about this option, the tall plan feels like a good fit, it feels like it fits the community. And we want to move forward with considering this design, that potentially you would look at TJ building a longer scope.
I think that to be fair to any engineer, we would want to get decision points on some of these other design elements as well as the overall concept. Otherwise, we're kind of doing redos over and over again, right? So
I would say the natural next step, if we say we like, or we would like to proceed, you remember those giant paper whole corridor printouts we had, is to do that next, so we can see them in here.
But TJ, wouldn't you want an answer about the intersections? And wouldn't we want to firm up a few of those things before we pay for design work again?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that would be the most conservative approach, which would have you nailed down. I do, it depends on what the goal of the big paper plot is. Is it to look at the overall impacts, you know, within the context of the existing thing, or do we want to get into the finer points? I don't know if that's for me to say yes or no. It's kind of a.
I mean, I would imagine that even to get a good solid understanding of the long plot, we're gonna have to answer the question about the intersection domes or the lack thereof, right? Because that's a major difference. Or do you think that's overstated?
It will, the thing that it would impact is the head ramp design at each intersection, which has cost implications. So the paper piece actually probably wouldn't look much different, depending on what we go with. The costs, like, we're gonna consider to build a couple of these concrete.
Space required at intersections, I think, is the main one that would be helpful to know.
Yeah.
The required amount of square footage.
Yeah, and so even in the context of this committee, we could do a couple of those intersections that show it that way, and you can see the difference of the role plot if, and that's probably money well spent if you're gonna do it.
So pick one intersection and show different variants, how they.
Yeah, and with the understanding, we're not saying it's gonna happen,
Yeah.
this one, no matter what, but we could show it, yeah.
But from what you're saying is if we install those on intersection, you just do it on, like in the beginning and in the end?
That would be for the committee to decide, those are common points where you probably would expect to see it, but you don't. It
You
could
say
be,
3rd and 11th probably would be.
yeah, kind of start and end points, but again, that's just what I've seen in other communities, I'm not saying that's what you have to do. It's just the application I've seen.
It's I was gonna say it's unclear, third to fourth, what can be done, so. It doesn't have the same problem statement or.
Yeah.
Or with.
So you're saying you'd be comfortable doing, because I'm thinking about not needing to redo again and again, right? You'd be comfortable creating the role plot from the broad concept if it's found favourable to the committee without yet having to have a decision about the intersection domes.
I would recommend if the committee wants to investigate that, there's enough people here that think it might be a good idea, we pick one intersection to do that within the plot, so that means it's not time wasted. We can use that as the example, so you can see what all the other ones would look like, and then let's just pick one to show what that could look like on the roll plot. I think that would be the most responsible use of the funds, if we're not ready to say yay or nay on the concrete intersection today.
And where would the survey process fall into this?
So, the survey conversation about doing the actual full survey. I would, until we're ready, well, because of the money considerations, until we say yes, 100%, we're gonna run with it, I wouldn't survey it, right, that's kind of where we landed. We'll just use the same GIS overlay that we used for the other ones, which again will be accurate within about a foot.
If we were to install stop signs instead of that, where would that be, or would that be like every 4 blocks or 3 blocks? I mean, that's the alternative, right? Instead of doing those,
I mean, the ultimate traffic calming is put up at every block, but to Will's point, you would do, within design, you would do studies to determine if that's appropriate or not. Cause you actually have to zoom out and you have to look at all the other stop signs around it as well. So,
I will say that 8th Street is a pretty natural point for a stop sign. You got one at 4th, 6th, and then it's, goes to 8th Street goes to Edwards. There's a lot of school buses and children walking to school. So that'd be a pretty natural spot.
and that could also be a natural spot if you wanted to do one of these to do that.
Right,
Yeah,
that's true.
third and river for it, one of these, I think there's gonna be some technical challenges on Third because 60
One
feet.
side's way wider.
Well, not only that, but you have street parking on one side that is currently, I don't know if there's been an assessment done on that, but I don't think that. The multi-housing, well, no, the other side, the multi-housing allowance now, there's a house on between Third and Fourth on River with no parking. I mean, not nearly enough parking for what the usage is there. So the parking issue, so bike lanes plus parking, I don't know if there's a plan for that. So having a thing like this start at Third and River, I think there's a lot of challenges with that being the spot to start. So. Fourth, this whole typical section starts to make sense, but.
Fourth, the Winooski Fourth.
Yeah, I mean, just Fourth is any further south, this typical section works, but between Third and Fourth, I don't know that I haven't seen something that suggests updating that area makes perfect sense yet, so.
It's a puzzle.
Yeah. Am I correct? There's currently stop signs at Fourth and Sixth.
And that's it.
So I think, in my mind, one possibility is Fourth and Sixth are current, stop sign at Eighth, and a traffic dome, whatever you're calling this, at Ninth. And then that would slow folks down that stretch from got your stop sign at 8th to 11th and whatever gets done down there. It kind of sets you up for whatever gets done down there that folks are already slowed down. And then you can address.
Yeah, it's kind of useless to build these and also put stop signs on them, so you want to intersperse.
Yeah,
them.
yeah,
Kind of
yeah, that's-
alternate.
4th, 6th, 8th, and then a dome at 9th to prepare you for whatever expansion happens.
One on 11th, Civic Curiosity.
I guess I was just off the cuff thinking, you know, there's so much residential down 9th. I know
Oh, yeah.
there's a lot down 11th,
Yeah.
but there's so much down 9th that I would just, there's a lot of traffic moving around. That's a great place to slow it down because you know, the ultimate traffic calming is a stop sign at every intersection, but nobody wants to drive that every day. But you've got a lot of pedestrians, bikes, vehicles of all kinds at that intersection at 9th. So they just had a stop sign. They don't have a whole lot of time to build up speed, and they get to a dome, a hump, whatever you call it.
One other thing I just recalled that I should have thought of when I said 11th earlier is that is the truck route, so we would want to put one of
Yeah,
these
okay.
at 11th for that reason.
Bingo.
Trucks turning left to go to the mill site would not be, that would be advantageous situation.
Curious. What does the like research say? If we add a bunch of stop signs to River, is that going to push traffic onto other neighboring
That's-
streets? Or do we need to think about traffic calming for neighboring?
So that's why you do the study within the design, because yes, if you put a stop sign on every intersection, people will just start driving down the ones that don't have stop signs. So, yes,
Very-
that's,
very-
I'm for that.
Stop sign on the back.
of course.
So,
Is there, nobody's committing, general appetite for interest in pursuing a design mock-up of a raised intersection? Look at the street. Yay, nay,
Within that roll plot.
within the roll plot.
And I would say we probably just would do 9th if we're gonna use that as the example.
I mean, you're saying we're just gonna put one and then,
Yeah, but I don't want to spend a bunch of dollars to put it all over the place. That we don't.
I mean, not gonna hurt to see it.
Yeah, I'd like to see how that would.
Are we good with showing you that 9th then?
Sure.
All right, raise the hands, who wants to see it at 9th Street? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6, we'll do 1. We'll try 1 and 9, if it's drawing mock-up.
Jim told presented.
What was that? I was very informal with that side.
All in favor of considering the option at that location, Jim Toll in dissent, which is fine.
And Mike was dissent to that.
Yeah, I want to.
Oh, okay, and Mike, can dissent. Got it.
I'm sorry. Wow.
If we don't get the minutes right, Rachel will beat me.
Yeah.
Yeah, another agenda item too.
And so just one more thing, are we all in favor of moving forward with this design? I think my thoughts, like, I like this design. I think this is the best fit that we have found to this point that honors the current space. I think I'm also hesitant that if we spend a lot of money in design, that is information that we are moving forward as opposed to like scratch this, we're going backwards and we're gonna reset. So I think I want to be mindful of let's think of what, like, are we all in favor of moving forward that to this point, this feels like the option?
You mean the alternative number 4, whatever we're calling it?
Number 4.
Okay,
The new.
I was holding off comment on the tree thing because it was one of the agenda items. Can we talk about that briefly before we make a vote on the tall thing?
Hold on. This might, I'm not in favor yet,
Okay,
and that's because I think, a dozen neighbors of mine get together. We talk about this, they are telling me what, I feel like I don't have their information at all. And I think it's important for our little group of whatever, a few blocks.
Yeah.
That I know what they're thinking as well. I think it's only fair.
So being able to present the tall plan to them and get feedback. Okay, yeah.
Is that useful to have the roll call for that discussion though, or is it not? Because that,
As far
when
as
we
like-
say proceeding with design, the next step would be to put that big paper roll plot together so you can see what it, not just the
I
intersection.
think that that's fair, because all the people that have had a chance to see the roll plot, the other three options, you're just giving them the same thing, but for a fourth option, and that brings it to the same level, unless you think that.
Yeah, but with the roll plot, that doesn't mean we're 100% going with the total.
For clarity, that's a different motion. The motion parliamentary wise would be. We desire to see a roll plot of this option,
Oh.
not that we approve of this option.
Yeah,
We're fine, you're like, we're willing to spend money.
okay.
Yeah, so your point is that it would be a motion for a roll plot,
Yes.
yes.
If I understand Mark's point, which I
Well,
believe.
and was that previous, what you guys were thinking, or you thinking we just full steam ahead for option four?
I think I might have not framed it the best. I think this is my budget conscious side. We're moving into like financial investments, so I do want to make sure that folks are feeling good about where we're at.
Okay, what is the financial commitment for a roll plot?
We're already outside of the pre-designed budget right now.
Yeah, but I mean, we've done three, what's the fourth one, or two?
7,000 maybe?
Just so people know the.
Yeah.
So I think to your point, to bring this one to the same point, the other ones we will look at is probably I think that's the right thing to do. Because that would give you the information, I think for your group, right, then they could see it, like we were all able to see the other ones. Probably a good point to get to.
Would it be reasonable to have third to fourth have a closer look for that roll plot, or is that not?
We can.
Okay.
Well, we can look at it, like basically how that tie in with.
Yeah, the continuity just seems like there's not a clear vision of.
No, it's gonna have to be something unique at that point.
And then it's part of, this is for me, that the roll plot would not have the survey to it, so it would not be a perfect, it would be some ebb and flow in the final design, it would be information.
He just said within a foot.
That would, yeah, we would be using existing GIS data, which is gonna be within about a foot. So keep that in mind as we're looking at it.
I still thought it would be good to have a couple, 3 points before we vote on a top plan. If that's okay.
Okay,
Can we go back to the section view, or the typical section view?
Which one?
The top of it, or the first, yeah, very first thing on here.
Oh, the tall plan, this one?
Yeah,
Okay.
alternative work. Oh. I just wanted to make a comment, because tree discussion was part of this, that, I don't think there is any option of doing work on River Street that brings us up to ADA compatible sidewalks that eliminates the likelihood of having to remove some trees that are clearly, the ones between Fourth and Fifth, I believe is one I'm thinking of in particular. There's no way to get sidewalks there without doing something pretty invasive. Those trees are bumping up the sidewalks 1 foot on one side. And anyway, my only comment to this is I think that this is the closest thing to preserving the character, preserving the width that we want to see, not impeding in people's yards, etc. But I just wanted to mention that, and I was curious if there was any work that should be done on with this proposed width, what trees we think would be impacted versus which ones might be. Or
So that's gonna show up really well in the roll plot.
Okay.
You're gonna be able to see that limit. I mean, we're gonna need to know which trees are which. Some of the really big ones, there's almost no way to do it.
and whether it was the sidewalk or redoing the road.
So
Same
the
thing.
sidewalks, you have more ability to meander or go over routes. The road, curb line, and a bike lane, you do not have the same ability to do that.
although a meander, we would need conversation with the homeowner,
Yeah.
potentially that meander would impact their property.
That would be the trade-off for meandering. Then going over routes is possible, but it creates safety hazards by doing that. You create ramps for people to jump their bikes off of. Which ones will do.
29 room per month.
Yes.
And then it will fracture, and then we will be back. Using the
So there-
sidewalk and again.
There's trade-offs to anything that on that side as well that would need to be discussed, for sure.
Does anyone have any other comments on the trees though, with respect to this plan? I guess that was the last one.
Yeah, I think we have two more agenda items and the last.
Yeah, I mean, there's
It's heavily trees.
discussions on trees.
I have a lot to say about trees.
Okay.
No, we're on agenda item 4.1.
I thought we had done 5.1 for this, but
Well, maybe we
I
got.
have not heard a motion yet.
I was roll call. Well, I
I
think
think we're holding on the roll call
No.
motion. We're gonna circle back.
Okay.
Circular agenda time. Circular.
Wait and see.
Okay, I guess I skipped that.
Yeah, you missed the slide.
So I think, anyone else hop back to the creating distinction, because this was one that was brought, agenda item. We kind of talked about it a little bit from the intersection standpoint of how to honor the community livability. So I think the spirit of the creating distinction item was like, are there community centered, like artistic, creative aspects? There was a public comment, at one of the first nights at city council, that I wish we had the budget for it, but it was like, what would it look like to have like some of the more historic looking lamp posts and benches and things like that? And I know we don't have the budgets to go all out for that, but are there, I think there was a picture that was submitted, like stamped concrete or imagery or something that would create artistic aspects too. Yeah.
Now.
I'm looking for it to be in here.
Now we're at
Yeah,
that,
gotcha.
item. And may I speak on that?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll speak on this because I'm guilty of the slide here.
Isn't that those objects you were railing against a minute ago?
It is, but you know, I had to prepare for everything. Cause I didn't know if there'd be bioswales or not. Anyway, and I can make this fairly quick because this is only meant to generate some green light thinking and get people thinking in this direction. And so I can do this pretty quickly. This is not a real place, just to be clear, we're not looking at a real street here. This is a collage of possibilities that I just threw together so that we can see them all in one place and get kind of an idea of some possibilities that could be considered for River Street if there was any interest. And I wouldn't suggest, this does not suggest that I want River Street to look like this the whole length, but I want to point out a few things. As an example, decorative lighting is a possibility. There might be an opportunity where we might want to do that. However, decorative lighting costs a fair amount of money. These other items you see here are all pretty inexpensive. And the one that I personally like is stamped concrete features in a bike path or a pedestrian path. Not as busy as this, not all down the whole line, but one or two places along that street on River Street that were, if the concrete was stamped in a river thematic impression, it might add just a little interest to the street. And I used fish here, but it could be river otters, it could be egrets, it could be whatever, and not all over the place, just occasionally here and there. Also, you'll see there's down here, there's some colored concrete in a wavy line suggestive of a river or a stream. It's colored, it's very inexpensive to color concrete. And I wouldn't necessarily suggest that it be the whole length of concrete or the whole length of River Street, but there might be maybe, a few places on River Street where we incorporated that someplace to just give a little artistic appeal. If we had to have swales, then some sort of blue tiling like I put in here might make it look a little more attractive and could have the advantage that we have George Washington University with art department, and we have our own Cheyenne Cultural Center with ceramics department. If we were going to do something like that, wouldn't it be cool to have the community make and install the tiles for their street? This bench right here, a rest bench someplace along River Street. And then right here, you'll see a little piece of sculpture that I stuck in here. Most homeowners are not gonna want a bench or a sculpture in front of their house. However, there are 4 or 5 locations along River Street where there's no adjacent house with somebody that loves that little center strip. And where something like this might be a good idea. As an example, the church at 8th Street, they they might be receptive to having an event right there in front of their church in a little area. The parking lot, the Lutheran parking lot right at Fourth and River is just, it's a parking lot. Well, that might be a place to put something more than just a tree, and it might be a little sculpture on the corner, or it might be a decorative light standard on each opposing corner. Anyway, that's it. I was just wanting people to think that there are some other things that we can do here other than just asphalt, 2 planter strips, and 4 concrete pathways. And we don't have to make any of those decisions now, but it wouldn't be bad to maybe have that conversation as we move on. Because by far, trees are the most important thing.
I think one of the things with this community, that this from a community centered standpoint, we had, it's a pilot project right now, but the street art program, we had a neighborhood that came together that to really honor their neighborhood, they did a whole design, they bought the paint, and they painted an incredible mural for their neighborhood in the middle of the cul-de-sac. And so that was something that honored that neighborhood. It was part of their community culture, their livability, and it was something that they have been really passionate about. And
The street in front of Rivercrest Apartments is another, that planter strip right there, another place where there's really no one gonna ever love that strip, make it look anything other than just what it is. So there are some places like that.
To Jerry's point, if you did want a dome somewhere, that dome could be a community canvas that people could add one of those street murals on as that other bloke did in that cul-de-sac, and have something that's really unique as a piece of street art.
Just to kind of tie in on that, something I hadn't thought about, something we have a lot of around town are the Rotary Club peace poles. And I was just wondering if, maybe tying in with Rotary and having 1 or 2 spots along here with one of those peace poles it'd be something that's different than what River Street has right now, but it's very in keeping with town because it's something we have a lot of around town. A wonderful addition.
Yeah, those are nice.
Yeah.
And the Art Council has rotating sculptures. They don't have to, unless residents wanted it, they don't have to be always the same statue, because they get pedestals that they can change art out, and they have artists who bring new work to town. And that's all insured by the city.
in that spirit of honoring, like, River and the role that it has in being central to the larger community as well. Are there pieces that, and I'd be curious to, like, the downtown coalition, the chamber, they do some really amazing stuff. And would this fit kind of within their scope of someday having?
Yeah, I like that idea.
I think so.
I'm still going back to what Mark wants to go back to your neighbors at, I mean, when you design the plot, I mean, we're already going forward with saying we're gonna do something. Right? I mean, because we're already gonna spend $8,000. I mean, I don't wanna say, okay, yeah, spend $8,000 and then Mark comes back and says, neighbors doesn't want River Street to be, I mean, we just pave it. I mean, are we going forward with a design? Is that what, I mean, we're deciding now?
Well, I think we need to make a motion, but there was an ask to hold the motion until after the tree conversation. So,
And just to clarify, that motion would be to proceed with the roll call, not commit to say, or is 100% officially the motion for.
Yeah, so I mean, if you put together a plot, that's $8,000. Right? That's not
Or
going back.
perhaps more, there'll be more meetings.
Yeah,
I mean, I think what's the cost of River Street project? Yeah,
Oh, 10 million.
yeah, so $8,000 is due
Yeah,
diligence, not.
I'm not saying it's anything but a small number at this moment, but it is my job to be the bad guy and talk about money.
But it is due diligence, it's not being, from what the consensus is here. I mean, I agree, maybe you give it a week, give them a chance, or not a week, I don't know how long the hop would be. But you know, as we talk to neighbors, but I would at the same time that the clarity you get from the roll plot answers a lot of the questions that come up in a way that where we're at now. So that'd be my,
That's very fair.
And it brings us to the same level of due diligence that we did for the other three
Okay.
that got us to this point. So
All right.
I do think it's a natural due diligence point.
pending the tree discussion.
After.
So I would maybe as a informal to do to give all of our community members, like, as part of going back and talking about design, like, are there aspects of community-centered, Newburgh-centered creativity that would fit the culture of River Street? It would be a great conversation to have as well, as part of our plan.
And then discuss that at the next meeting.
I have a few comments. I like your idea of creating distinction. I think with artwork, it's so subjective that when you have an entire street, you're not gonna please everybody with, doing things that are, colored tiles. Someone's gonna like blue or red instead of blue, I like just timeless, like classic, historic Newburgh design, I think needs to be the emphasis with creating distinction. I don't know about stamped sidewalks.
Oh, that's my favorite.
Is it?
But there are other things I'm sure that I did think of. I just wanted people to start thinking about that.
Sure. I think Eddie, audience there, during the city council meeting, he talked a lot about how River is one of the older streets in Newburgh and how just, old fashioned light poles and maybe a few benches here and there that kind of lend that to that old town character. Really historic preservation.
Well, yes, and I was gonna, kind of what I hear you saying, and this fits in, it'd be easy to get really cute with this and make it look cute in a way that the street doesn't currently and Newburgh doesn't as a whole. So, and I think Jim was real clear. He wasn't suggesting doing all of this. That would be over the top. Yeah, and so that'll be part of the conversation is how to create distinction while making it look like Newburgh and historic River Street.
Right.
Not some really cute place that you go vacation in.
Right. I generally am opposed to the idea of murals on streets. That's gonna look very good. But it's all personal preference, like I said. That's one of those things that I think a lot of people, maybe half the people would like it and half the people would hate it.
I would agree they don't age is the problem.
Yeah.
Rarely age.
Right.
So if you do them on concrete, you can pressure wash them off. If you do it on asphalt, you can't, for damage to the asphalt. So.
Ready for trees?
What year was River originally, established, River Road?
Well, the concrete version was, recently someone found and we're looking for something else. I think it was 1925 or something was the
We found the bid, we
Yeah.
found the newspaper article that had the original bid for that concrete.
Right.
It was over 100 years.
Yes,
I think
it was the early 20s, I think.
Yeah, so.
Nineteen
Street,
twenties,
street
should I
before
say.
that, but it wouldn't there before that, yeah.
Could be cool to kind of honor that time in which it's been established that long, kind of keep the
You
character.
mean like Tommy guns and booze bottles?
There's actually historic markers around River Street that can be preserved. There's one,
There's two of them, I think.
on Sixth Street.
I thought Third and
There's one closer up to Third and there's one on
Yeah.
Sixth, they're those concrete pads.
Right, yeah.
Can we save those?
Yeah, that's one of the things we talked about early on, is those have to be saved and generally kept in the same spot, but if not, you move them laterally. But it's, yeah.
it's not in our inventory, but there is one concrete stamp. I can't recall exactly where it is, but.
All joking aside, the 1920s is actually my favorite architecture, favorite design period. You can tie into that somehow. I think it's amazing. I love it. I've got a picture of the Flatiron building in my office.
before we get into trees, can I just ask a question for the clarity of the minutes, the motion that we? Well, can I just, no, the first one, did we not, oh, was that was the motion,
The motion for the,
so there was not a formal motion,
No, not until we look at.
okay, thank you,
trees first, then,
okay,
we're doing circular.
thanks for the clarity, okay.
So.
I think I said what I needed to say. I was just wondering if there's any more. we can
No, but I
say.
think that's a great opening, so. I know, Jim, you have. You want us. Wants to start, so. I think preservation of natural resources as much as we can, I think that has been a message that has come over and over. And so our design will help us understand. Knowing that probably the intersections are going to be the biggest impact, given that we have zero flexibility in those spaces. But I would love to hear thoughts on hopes for River Street or Newburgh in general from a tree standpoint.
Can I just leave out there?
Go for it.
'Cause I guess you guys have probably figured out I have an opinion about everything. Did you read the thing that I sent this morning?
Yeah.
Shall I read that?
I think it's great. I think it's a very good framework for a discussion.
All right, it's about a 4 or 5 minute read, depending on how fast I read. I do this, everything okay? Okay, so what I have here is, I'll call it the River Street Tree Program Draft Proposal. Let me emphasize draft and it's proposal, so this is just a starting point. There's a lot to be talked about for trees, and you may not like this proposal, but just consider it as the beginning of a conversation. So I'll just read it to you. The River Street Tree Program is designed to preserve and enhance urban forests along River Street while supporting the city's goals for a vibrant, pedestrian-friendly, and environmentally resilient neighborhood. By replacing trees impacted by the upcoming infrastructure projects and offering new trees to residents, the program will maintain a healthy tree canopy that provides shade, improves air quality, supports wildlife, and contributes to the aesthetic and economic value of the River Street corridor for generations to come. The River Street Ad-hoc Committee recommends that the city of Newburgh adopt the following policies for a River Street tree program. Section 1. Tree replacement and Trees for Everyone program. To ensure a healthy and inviting tree canopy for future generations of residents and wildlife, the city of Newburgh will replace any tree removed or damaged as a result of the River Street project. Additionally, Newburgh will offer one free planter strip tree, including professional installation, to any River Street homeowner who requests one, provided the location is practical. Replacement trees may need to be planted in slightly different locations than the original tree due to street design and infrastructure constraints. Section 2, tree location and planting requirements. To promote healthy tree development and protect street infrastructure from future root-related damage, all new trees will be planted with subsurface concrete root barriers. These barriers shall be installed during the bike and pedestrian path construction phases. New tree planting locations must therefore be identified and approved prior to the start of construction. Planting areas should avoid unnecessary soil compaction to encourage desirable downward root growth. Gator bags or equivalent deep root watering systems shall be installed where appropriate. Section 3, I'm almost done with it. Care and maintenance. The city of Newburgh will provide professional landscape maintenance, including regular deep root watering via gator bags or equivalent, for approximately 4 years after planting. This will ensure successful establishment and proper early growth planting. It is recommended that the city consider contracting this work with CPRD, as they already maintain Herbert Hoover Park at the entrance to River Street. Last page. Tree type species selection. A River Street tree pick list will be developed consisting of species specifically approved for River Street conditions. The list should include ample power line friendly smaller stature trees suitable for east side, a good selection of medium to tall trees suitable for the west side, and several attractive flowering ornamental trees, silver lindens, for example. The pick list should be created by a citizen ad hoc committee with guidance from a certified arborist who is familiar with Newburgh's climate, soils, and urban conditions. And here's a note on diversity. Planting an entire street, this is for the mayor, by the way. Planting an entire street with a single species is strongly discouraged due to disease and pest vulnerability. The final list should aim for an attractive, cohesive overall aesthetic that shall be determined by the committee. And there's a list of several trees that for power line friendly and large trees that were picked from the city's tree list.
Thank you.
So anyway, that's that. And what this is just the starting point and for a recommendation to the city related to trees and how to deal with trees.
You give us a little technical background ones on the subsurface concrete root barrier. That's to keep basically the tree not impacting the other,
Yeah, that's sort of the main function there is to prevent the tree roots from getting into the piping and the sidewalks and so forth. And a good root barrier has some space around it, doesn't constrain the roots. Frequently, when people plant trees, they plant with a root barrier that's like a bag wrapped around the tree and it constrains the roots and it actually hurts the development of the trees.
just trying to get it go down. And then
Yeah, so we use these regular linear ones that, so the edges are not constrained, but the sides are, and it just takes you down below you, basically the limit of your concrete, so the roots go down and then they're able to go out.
do those add a lot of cost to development?
They add cost, I don't know if I would say a lot, they add.
If they're done now, at this stage, they don't have much cost. If you're retroactively trying to install them in a street or a planter strip, then they become really expensive as one-off installations. But when you're doing a whole bunch of
4 feet?
How deep are they?
Yeah.
Yeah, 4 feet's probably good. You wanna look at what species you're putting in and don't have to look for.
And then the deep root watering system gator, what's that all about?
that's it's like a diaphragm, a bladder that gets tied around the tree and you pour water in it. And you do this like once a week, you fill it up and then that water percolates down around the tree roots. So you don't need a watering system to water that tree in its early stages of development. And the gator does not stay on forever. It's just in the early stages. And you'll sometimes see new plantings with these funny looking things on them. That's a good product.
So the trees you're talking about is the ones that don't lift up the sidewalk where the homeowner has to fix it every 6 years or 5 years.
Those root barriers are tremendously helpful in preventing that and ensure the longevity of the sidewalk and the safety of the sidewalk. And they also help the tree grow because if they're planted properly with that kind of care, then the roots, and with gators as an example, the roots are encouraged to go down and go deep and not go out into the street.
So there are certain types of deciduous trees that are deep rooting, which naturally go down instead of out. This is where an arborist you'd want to consult. I think that was in your plan, Jim. Generally conifers, anything with needles and pine cones go out and deciduous tend to go down more. It's not gonna be 100%, but I mean, best practices to choose the selection.
TJ, you may know this, you may not, but the current tree list took account of these factors and Leanne did tremendous amounts of research on this and also it was approved by the Oregon Forestry Department for urban canopy. So the trees.
Also, any of these ones,
Yes,
that's what it does.
yes, and people smarter than me about trees by far have looked at the trees on our tree list. And they also have information about which ones are appropriate for what sorts of locations and by different species, small, medium and large. And it was approved by the Forestry Department of Oregon. And we have a planner on staff who is a tree expert. That's her part of the team. And so she did this work. She spent many, many months working on this.
Yes, and I will say that, that's Leanne Wagner, right? Yeah, she did a really great job. And, all the trees, again, just to create a beginning point, I've listed in here. 5 trees under the power line friendly section and 4 trees under the large tree section suited for the west side. They all came from the list, but I will tell you, because the list is expansive, that's why I thought we should try and create a list that focuses on River Street, narrows it down for residents, and also kind of selects trees that we know would appear good and work well on River Street specifically. And I didn't come up with this by myself. I talked to 2 different arborists. I talked to Patrick Breen, who is, if you look at any of the hot links on Leanne's thing, they all hot linked it back to Oregon State University, and Patrick Breen is the author of all this. So I talked to him. And I also talked with someone you know well, Brian Stewart. And Brian and I spent.
He's a genius.
Brian and I walked up and down, probably spent a couple hours on River Street earlier this week. And so this list of trees right here, these were Brian's choices from our list that he said, I think these would be good selections. I would work with him on it. These would be what I would plant on River Street. And so anyway, that's where this came from. And thank you, Brian, for taking the time to do that with me.
What's his name?
Brian Stewart. And he is the supervisor for all grounds and maintenance. And as an example, if you ever go to the aquatic center and enjoy that wonderful garden there, that's Brian's creation. And if you enjoy the flagpole, that's Brian. And the roses and plants that line 99 coming up to the flagpole, that was Brian's project. And the roundabout on the approach to the Allison, that was Brian's project.
And he helped me paint all the barrels green.
And he helped me paint. So anyway, the guy really knows Newburgh, he really knows trees, and he's worth his suggestions. And so there you have it.
I love this beginning. I would love to even go, like further beginning. I guess that's not important. But when I'm talking to my neighbors, I think the overall or the overwhelming like concern more than anything is how to preserve as many trees as possible. And you know, looking at that, the canopy is obviously super important. It is the identity of the street. It's a lot of things to the street. But I would love to know how, or if there's any kind of guidance or guidelines working with engineers as to, you know, an arborist saying, hey, this tree can be saved, or, you know, who are you rubbing shoulders with to go, we're gonna make every effort possible to save this tree, this tree, this tree, this tree.
So engineers aren't gonna make that decision on the design team. You're gonna have a landscape architect who will have access to arborists. So that would be the typical way that you would approach that. An engineer shouldn't be making those decisions, should come from ultimately from an arborist. And that should be throughout the entire process of the landscape design. That should not happen after.
Can that arborist possibly meet with residents?
Yeah, I would think so.
I just think like peace of mind. I know it sounds whatever, but just peace of mind as people are, you know, these trees mean an awful lot. And I think, you know, taking every care possible to even, you know, have a conversation with the resident of, hey, why this can or cannot be saved, I think would be really helpful, honestly. Honestly, I'm not trying to drag out the process really long. I really don't want this to take very long either, but just hearing my neighbors in this home, so.
You know, I completely respect that. I mean, my sad duty is I have to talk about money. That's what they pay me for. But I totally understand that. Getting community involvement, making wise decisions, and having options. I don't want, this one is on me. Elliott Road, that's not on me, right? This one is on me, and I do want it to go well. I want it to end up creating something that is beautiful and long lasting and is like the front porch of our whole city. Cause it really is going to be that. So as long as council's happy for me to keep spending the money, I'll keep spending the money.
Yeah, and the challenge is how far can we move forward in design selection? Without and we don't know yet which trees are gonna go. We have a good idea, but we don't know. And no, my sense is a lot of us don't want to commit until we know which trees are gonna go, but that's putting the cart before the horse.
So from an engineering perspective, by 30%, you should know which trees are gonna go and which aren't. And so between now and that deliverable is where that work would typically happen. If the feeling is that it needs to accelerate, you just have to advance design further. But that would be the general context of how a project would advance forward.
And my personal sense is that the option 4, the talc option, is the one that's gonna work best for this tree. And the only option that can save the trees is to do absolutely nothing.
Yep.
And,
Yep. I mean, I already know. I mean, if you drive down River Street, you already know which trees are gonna go.
yeah,
I mean. But I think what this design would be is, I mean, if we have an alternative of what trees are gonna go replace it. And what that's gonna look like after a year, after 2 years, is it gonna be the same or is it gonna be, better than what we've got there? I think that's the decision. I mean, we can talk back to our neighbors and say, okay, yeah. This tree's gonna stay, this tree is gonna stay, but I mean, most of those trees are gonna go. I mean, if we pick a design, if we do something, most of those trees are gonna go. And if you drive down River Street, you know which ones. Cause those are, the 2 big trees in front of my house. It's gonna go, I know that, that's reality. So, you can have an arborist come in and we pay him and tell us the same thing. But, if we do something, most of those trees are gone. It's the replacement is what I'm looking at now. And if it's gonna make it better. That's kind of what decision we should have instead of, oh, we can save this tree, we can save this tree.
This is the only option though that even comes close to allowing for saving some of them in that 6-foot section. Because the spot where there's currently grass is not changing. The planter strip is roughly the same spot, so even though I agree, some are definitely gonna go. There's some decent sized trees that are gonna be just fine probably, because it's not.
The ones that are in the center of the blocks.
Yeah.
That's where you're gonna have the opportunity to potentially retain some.
Yeah, you can tell which ones.
Yeah.
I can tell.
And the city, it's not such a large cost for the city to bring in trees that are already larger caliper.
Yeah.
We're not proposing to put baby saplings back.
And if you're
Maybe
gonna,
trees that already made some headway in growing.
if you're gonna do larger caliber trees, you wanna do what Jim's talking about, where you're gonna make an investment in more mature trees, make an investment in getting them established as well.
After a year or two, it's should look nice.
I just want to be
That's
clear,
my vision.
no
of what-
one's ever been proposing or thinking about planting saplings, because I've heard rumors about
No.
that. That was never any part of this thinking.
I do think that that's an important thing to highlight, that as part of an investment in the community and the livability component is that if we do have to remove trees and replace trees, that the intention is to not buy a little toothpick, but to buy a
Yeah,
substantial.
that'll be making,
It's not going to be a 100-year-old tree, but it'll be a,
but I'll make it look nice where it's gonna be a canopy after a couple of years.
Well, and it should be more consistent down the whole corridor, so after
Yeah.
years and years, you actually will have, because really, there's certain blocks that have a canopy and there's big chunks of the blocks
Right.
right now that don't. So you'll end up with a more consistent canopy down to
Can you talk a little bit about what you explained to me about, is it bushier trees in the middle or narrower trees at the ends? to
Yeah.
help Canopy?
So this is probably accounted for in that, or that list of trees, but generally at intersections, you're gonna wanna try to select trees that are a bit more conical, so you have sight lines, so you can look left and right as you're stopped and see traffic coming on. Then toward the center of the blocks, you can select trees that have more of a branching canopy that go out. You also have to think about the power lines, which Jim has mentioned. But that's all part of that process of like being very intentional with a literal design for how you choose trees. That needs to be part of the design process for a good design.
I mean, this is a lot of trees to pick on. I mean, I just looked at the big ones, like the 18 foot and 12 foot and the 15 feet. It's what I looked at. I didn't look at the small ones.
Well, that's why we need a custom pick list.
Yeah.
For which this is a start, because that's a lot easier to digest than that.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is a great jumping off point. The only quibble that jumps out to me immediately was the ginkgo. Ginkgos, they're beautiful, wonderful trees.
I saw that.
Unless you get a female.
I had one of those in my house, those grow, that thing stunk.
The ginkgo fruits have a really bad smell. And so if you get them now, go first to golden leaves in the fall.
Yellow,
and
it's yellow.
Yes, they're just gorgeous.
Yeah.
But if you get a female,
It changes color.
Oh, they get another. Whenever blue, right?
And it brought in a lot of,
Well, that's the whole point of having
Overseeing.
a tree committee.
I
well,
would say it's starting.
I was gonna
Yeah,
I was
sit
gonna
down,
think,
talk.
so trees have come up, I've lived in Newburgh for 20 years. And, trees are regularly coming up as an issue. So, whether it's the redwood at Memorial Park, whether it's the deodar cedar that just got cut down in front of the library, the tree, I can't remember what species it was, that had come up from the trestle, those new apartments on Villa. That was another one that caused a lot, it was a big old tree. I think the beginning of just getting more and more folks talking about how do we want to manage our trees in town I think this is a helpful step in that direction.
So, Will, you said trees of significant growth already will be planted. Any ideas?
it depends what we can source.
Yeah.
I mean, it depends, price differential will be times 4. I'm sorry, I have to talk with price.
Yeah.
But, it might be $150,000 well spent. And if we can, it would really be down to what can local suppliers get us in terms of caliper size. So I don't know that. In fact, I'm probably Leanne is the person for us to talk to about that part, or OHU people, or, other people that are in the know. But it really depends on supply.
Well, and this is helpful too, kind of, and the list will get revised. So I spoke with, there's a nonprofit down in Tangent called Our Community Forestry. And they have a grant through ODF, the Oregon Department of Forestry, to provide trees at substantially subsidized rates. And really the key requirement is your property has to be basically within the footprint of a Title I school, which all of River Street is. So River Street, all those properties qualify. And, they've got a wide selection. They've got over 4,000 trees that are available, and they can provide 1.5 to 2 inch caliper trees for like $80 to $100, which is a lot less than typical. With the one issue being transportation would be an additional cost. So, I don't know if that would be a sort, but it's an option to look into as we're looking to get larger trees at a reasonable cost.
I guess I was imagining more like 3 or 4 inch calipers starting point, if we can get
And we
them.
can afford that, yeah.
I mean, that's where my ×4 multiplier for cost came from, but
I think your attitude though is that's money well spent. In
Yeah.
the context of the project.
you know what the most expensive thing we can do? Is nothing.
Over time.
Well, my wife was on city council in 2012-ish, and this was being talked about then, and it was a lot less expensive then than it is now. And they kicked it down the road for the same reason everybody else has, because it's really expensive and stirs up the hornet's nest. We haven't grabbed onto that hornet's nest till now.
Now, and currently, we have the resources to do this. And it's coming in large part from other taxing districts that are sharing their property taxes with us. So that's why we have the money.
Is something like what Jim put together as a draft, I've been thinking about this, something that could be put together as like a River Street community guidance to support long-term tree management. So like, I don't know, one of the trees that we're able to save 50 years from now gets struck by lightning and comes down. This could then be guidance on how that tree should be replaced to maintain the continuity of the community.
I don't see any reason why not. And unlike previous administrations, we actually now have everything digitized and properly cataloged, so it is easy for us to record documents. Since we have digitized 750 bankers boxes in the last 3 years, including with metadata, so we can preserve this data going forward.
I've just been thinking about like listening to Scott talk about like framework replacement in communities that have tree guidance plans versus those communities that don't. And it seems to me that the River Street community is very much centered around the trees and the canopy as part of that livability. So having a formalized plan as part of that community could be helpful over the long term to sustain.
I mean, some of that's a Scott question, but I don't see why not, and certainly technologically it's doable.
I mean, I think something that would help here is once we pick the trees on what it's kind of gonna look like on River Street, so that when the residents of River Street see it, they're not gonna go, oh, that doesn't look right, or that's not a good replacement for the trees that you took out. I mean, everybody's gonna go, yeah, that's better than what we've got now. I mean, I think that would help.
So
Once we pick the trees.
would it be helpful to come up with like,
Rendering.
I was gonna say a rendering, have this thing, have images of all of the trees that.
You can buy anything you want, you can commission an artist to, digital artist to start doing specific tree placement imagery. But it's not free.
Or do we need to start there, or would it be, I guess, what would be helpful for you to go back to your, like, would a picture of the 5 trees that Jim outlines, that we could say, here's what these trees look like.
Here's our choices, and then here's what it's gonna look like on River Street.
And
Once you take out, I mean, with the street, with that, 4th choice that we've got, and you're putting the trees there in, 2 to 3 years, this is what it's gonna look like. Then I can show my neighbors and say, okay, here's kind of what it's gonna look like. It's gonna be different, but it's gonna still give that canopy look and the shade and the trees that, was taken out to improve the street. I mean, I think that would help.
If we want to do a photorealistic future view of how the street will look after several years of development,
Yeah,
based upon specific species, I can't tell you what that will cost right now.
So that can be done. Typically, you would engage with a landscape architect, give them the line work, and they have programs that can create that type of thing. I don't know what the cost would be right now, but yeah, I've seen it. It can be done. But I could speak to cost without engaging with a landscape architect. And I don't know if Leanne has the capability to do that, but that, like, for the industry, that's how we would
I
go about it.
I don't know that we have the software.
Yeah.
Capability to do that. We have line drawing software for as-built like Bluebeam. I don't think we have something that,
We have a lot of landscape architect partners, so if that is something we wanna just find out what the price is and you direct us to do that, we can. But that will be up to the direction of you guys.
I mean, to me, that would help, but I don't know with you guys or how that would.
Are you thinking, see, what's your address? Where do you live? You live?
I'm on 600 River Street, 600 River. I've
Okay.
got those two huge oak trees that are there.
And are you thinking of an image of how your house and might look without those trees and planted with trees like this? Is that what you're thinking?
I'm thinking this design with the trees that we choose on River Street on what it's gonna look like.
Well, when you say this design, are you talking about like this drawing right here only with?
Right.
Okay, so this three-dimensional sort, a little bit of a three-dimensional make-believe drawing of River Street with some of these bigger trees.
Right.
On the left.
Yep.
And, okay, as opposed to a photorealistic picture of your house.
Yeah.
that's a very clarifying thing you just said. Thank you. So the dollar amount just went down dramatically.
Yeah, so if we choose, like, let's say we choose the ginkgo tree and replace it, we put it there, what it's gonna look like, is it gonna be, like, here's what it's gonna look like in the fall, yellow.
Yeah, so in other words, more of a visualization.
Yeah.
Of how some of these, if we put these species in
Right.
these spots.
Yep.
Not an actual full rendering.
No.
But okay.
Yeah.
I mean, why not, I would think a good landscape designer could take the large trees and the power line friendly ones and design them in and just have it be a drawing. It doesn't have to be. But you could have them scattered throughout all the way down through. Instead of just picking one or two trees and this is what's gonna be down there, why not have a variety of them and have that rendering of this is what that whole area is gonna look like with this list?
Because that
Just
would be
do that.
That would be super expensive.
You think it would be?
I
Well,
know.
isn't that just a software program that a lot of these guys have on their computers anyways?
It is, including me, but the thing is that if you pay for an arborist, these people are like doctors. And, or lawyers, and their time is really expensive. And you're talking several days of their time to figure that out and make it happen, and it's gonna be very pricey.
I think Jim is very much correct. We can make a mock-up showing a section like this with a more appropriate species size and some different species. That's not a huge dollar expense, but creating an actual rendering of a future street view with trees that are age progressed or whatnot, that's very expensive.
And-
Well, yeah, I was thinking about looking at these trees, that would be like a 4-inch diameter. Like we had talked about, and just have it be a drawing of them just scattered throughout. Being accurate where they would be planted, so that when you look at it, it'll be a long flat deal and you could see how it would kind of look like. But if that's gonna be too expensive, then I would agree with you, let's just take a section of that street and have it drawn and just go with one section and go, this kind of what it's gonna look like the whole length, but really kind of like this one section.
I think it would give the flavor of it. We took a cross section like this.
Mhm.
I mean, I know it's just theoretical.
Yeah.
But put some of the proper trees in that
Yeah.
we're talking about.
Yeah.
It would give people more of a sense of what we're looking
Yeah.
at without.
I mean, that's all, I mean, I can show, look, so if we pick these trees, this is what it's gonna look like on our street. Here's what it looks like in the fall, here's what it's gonna look like in the summertime. You know, and it's actually gonna be better than what we have now. Then they'll come down and say, okay, well, I guess taking the trees out is okay. Cause I mean, the main complaint on that street for my neighbors is taking out the trees. So I mean, if you can show them that, hey, the replacement trees are gonna be better than what it was before, since it's not gonna damage the sidewalk. It's actually gonna look better, cause it's all the same, it's gonna give the same canopy, then I think they'll calm down. I mean, that's my thought.
That, I know that's a task you guys can do.
Yeah, we can.
With the species that are listed.
I think the collar too would be awesome, cause I mean, changing collars during the fall on that road would look really nice. I mean, I'm just thinking about Sunset Boulevard and Sherwood, where on the fall, all those leaf colors changes. Yeah. So.
And you have an amazing starting list. Do we want to use that list as a starting place for a mock-up, or should we like email out pictures of what those trees look like?
Let's use this.
Input.
He's already done the work.
I mean, I've got some ones that I kind of looked at, on this list that I think would be nice for that street too.
Well, Ted, if it's okay with everybody, could you email a few pics from that to us?
Sure.
And then we can do a mock-up.
Okay.
So, Jim, if you have some, Ted, if you want to email some. Let's say, does anybody have any strong opinions? I had no idea that a female ginkgo smells, so is that?
I learned the hard way.
And the whole silent bamboo, and let's go.
Oh, no.
That we both together.
I had to pay
That was-
to move about your back.
Yep, I did too. I had to take out a 8 by 3 foot section of my backyard and it was theirs.
Yes. Any other pre-input recommendations for Jim's framework that he provided?
I mean, so I mean, I'm thinking we look at this, and then if there's any changes to it that I would like, or from input with my neighbors, put it in and then send it.
I think that'd be great.
Yeah.
That we can use that as a framework and then
Okay.
all of the recommendations. And then maybe we could have like Leanne look at the recommendations and see what her input is.
I'll need to. I don't want to speak for her availability without checking. Depends how many land use cases she has to adjudicate. But I can see if she has availability.
Any thoughts? Recommendations? Does this feel like a positive direction from a community standpoint?
You're referring to the trees? Yeah, I know my wife would want some input. We have the list, but we haven't had a chance to look it over. So, I mean, this is all preliminary, so it's no big deal.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to see some mock-ups of some of the trees on this list.
Do we need to do a motion for the role play and for the tree renderings? Is that what?
I think we need a great many motions Right now, actually, because we don't have clarity.
Motions. I feel like we're coming full circle. I guess one of the questions that I have about the motion for a tree mock-up is, do we want to get settled on a like, if you're gonna kind of email some trees and you might email some more, like, do we want to settle on a list of 5 or 6 collectively as a group before we mock up?
When other cities do these recommended tree lists, are they usually on the order of like, we've got 5 power friendly and 4 forestry on this one? Is that typical, or is typical a wider list to allow for?
No, I think no, I don't think I know. This is typical.
Okay.
Because it also took account of our local soil conditions, which was part of the synthesis of this list, which therefore narrowed down.
Yeah. I know when it's, what should I plant in my front yard, different than this scenario here, right?
Yeah.
But there is usually a broader expanded list of things that are considered not invasive and
Right.
and appropriate for the area and all that, but I guess we're saying this is more of a city directed, we're getting these trees for this purpose.
Well, what Leanne's tree list, the way it's synthesized, and Leanne, forgive me if I'm misquoting you in any way, it took account of soil conditions, it took account of native species balance, it took account of knowing that there may be constricted root conditions, height for overhead growth. So all of those factors were part of the research that she did and then was proved through the forestry. Cool.
But to that point, this would be guidance for the planter strip, so that you wanted to
Right,
plant
yeah.
a cherry tree. in the
That's all I meant,
yard.
it was for a planter strip. The variety seems appropriate, I guess is good. And then you made a comment on the longevity of this as a thing going forward. I think it would be good to clarify if that's like a city maintained and cost to the city or not, was your vision for that? Because I think it changes a lot when it's actually kind of a really ambiguous area in general, when there is degradation over time, whose responsibility is it?
I can take this one too. So it's, I've dealt with this in Oak Meadow Loop, so to my cost. So there can be a tree overlay that is city maintained, that has specific species that must be planted there and creates this longevity. However, it has been my experience that that really annoys future people, who then, in generations to come, potentially, may not want to be constrained by the decisions that we make here today for the tree in front of their new house, right? So that's the downside of that. But technically, doing this, I don't know, that's Scott wizardry, but it's a thing that can be done.
So I guess my thought, I guess I'm gonna play devil's advocate for you. There was someone who recently had 4 or 5 trees cut down on her street and had the character of the neighborhood changed pretty significantly. Impetus to replant something feels meaningful. And I think this has come up in other neighborhoods too, where maybe someone buys the house next door to you and they don't like trees and they go and they chop down every single tree in front of their property. Are we okay with that as a community, or is there some urge of like, please replant in the planter strip?
This is a council decision and it is above my pay grade.
Well, but can we make, but like, some of the communities though, they have like this is the plan for the planter strip, don't they? That like kind of guides.
Oh, yeah,
You can't just go.
there are communities that have varying degrees of controls upon individual residents and what they can do.
I'm all for property rights, 100% property rights, and I'm also really pro tree and pro canopy.
And I'm not taking a position, because staff, we don't do that. If the council's will is that we enter into that sort of world, then
This is right of way property. So what is the actual legality of the right of way property with respect to what we're talking about? Because I think that should be clarified. We know,
This is a much bigger discussion.
That's fine, that's fine, if that's the answer, I'm just saying that. City dictating in a right of way seems, I mean, I get your point about some people may not like in the future years what has been dictated, but it also doesn't seem that unreasonable.
And by the way, once again, this is not Will Worthy speaking of his opinion right now. Will Worthy is member staff, and I have heard from the community literally opposed views on this exact
Yeah.
topic.
You get lots of feedback, lots of ways, and I think
Okay.
that's what's made it hard.
Yeah, I think that's what makes it hard to make a living thing, to your point you made earlier, though, is that if it's the city's willing to pay for it, that's one thing, but when they're not, and you're dictating a guidance or dictating a requirement
Yeah.
that then is not paid for by the city, that gets a little sticky.
That's the crux of the matter.
That is the first thing that we debate regularly on council.
Well, I mean, if you told me I had to go plant a tree in front of my yard that I don't own, that seems inappropriate, so.
And the trees and the canopy and the urban landscape are a really core component of River Street. And so is that, how do we want to maintain that for the long term?
Someone,
We could plant a bunch of trees and everybody decide they don't want those. I mean, everybody could decide they don't want any of the trees tomorrow, honestly.
Just don't plant ginkgos and we'll be fine.
Now, there's some truth to that statement as well.
So,
So when we give you our list of trees, should we rate them or rank them? Which ones are the ones we want? Number one, number two, and number three?
I'm saying,
So
we're
then-
gonna maybe add to Jim's list, but yes, if you could like really like,
And
Rank
another
order.
question I have is,
because we don't
I
want to
mean-
be too big, so there's gonna be some pick and choose.
Yeah.
What, it's a finalized list.
Yeah, this was not intended to dictate to people necessarily. It was intended to make it easier for people by taking that fairly lengthy list that Leanne made, right, consolidate it down and help people guide them in the direction so that it's not a big chore, because looking at all those trees and clicking on all those links and trying to remember and visualize,
It's a lot.
it's a lot. So this was meant to be helpful. And this was not meant to be an exclusive list. It was meant to be just, well, Jim's gonna put something on paper and I talked to this guy and there it is. But yes, your wife's input should be heard. Your neighbor's input should be heard. And then that whole thing should be maybe distilled a little bit, and then there you have it. Pick list for River Street, specific to this project. And we need to guard against mission creep here. Right now, we're focused on River Street, and that's what this is about. I mean, larger issues,
Plus, I have no intention of solving the larger issues, but I do like the trees.
Like someone that had 5 trees
Like as
cut
many
down.
trees as we can. I have been called,
Agreed.
I've been called the tree girl on council, so I'll give you that.
Well, what Ed's doing is for illustration purposes, right? It's not the final list. Or, am I correct on that? What, I'm just trying to interpret.
yeah, right, the next step,
Okay.
that's all it's gonna be. The same goal with this cross section, she was what we put together, well, that's what you requested, right? Yeah,
So do we need a motion for that, or is that a work in progress situation?
I think I need a little bit more clarity, because we've meandered around a lot this evening, no offense, it's great, we've got lots of opinions. But perhaps if I restate. So I think that we're going to, we probably want to write this down,
Yeah.
I'm very tired. We probably want to get suggested trees that are subsets perhaps of the overall list.
Mhm.
Emailed in to our engineer.
Okay.
So that he can make some some mock-ups like this.
Mhm.
With those trees.
Yep.
So there's a thing that I don't think needs a motion.
Okay.
Okay, so that's cool.
You get some trees.
We can do that.
7 trees.
Boom. Okay.
By when? I mean, well, the answer to that would be as soon as you can, I think, because
Yeah, maybe next week or two.
it is 2 weeks realistic for that. Does that give you enough time for?
Neighbor checking.
Yeah.
Okay.
If we're past 2 weeks, it's gonna get tight with the next meeting, so try to aim for that.
Next question would be, I think. Right. And are we with taking on board Jim's suggestion as a beginning point, having some images come back about how those trees might look in section, are we punting for now on deciding on the plot roll work? Or are we comfortable enough at this juncture to spend those dollars? It's always money with the Scotsman, isn't it?
So. Stewart.
Yeah. Are you talking about the $8,000?
I'm just guessing what the invoice will say, but yeah, it'll probably be something like that.
The roll plot for Jim Calls.
Yes. None? Yeah.
For that, I would like an official motion.
Yes, I concur.
Raise hands.
I think it's one of the things.
Somebody would say, I move that.
I move that.
Blah, blah.
Mike, that.
I move that we proceed ahead with the plot map drawing. With a section of the trees that's gonna be sent in to you. Using Jim Talt's rendering here that we've looked at and discussed tonight.
Is there a second?
Second.
Perfect.
Those 10, thank you.
All in favor?
Right. Unanimous.
And then, okay.
Woot.
So right now, Peter, you're up, following you. July 9th is 2 weeks for tree recommendation to TJ.
Where's your email?
You always circulate that on.
And we will
Yes.
send out TJ's email.
Yes.
I was gonna say, I was emailing last time, I won't see that.
We have a to-do to send the email for that to circulate.
You'll get that tomorrow.
And then this one too, I mean, do we?
And
What,
then I will forward Jim's draft that we can include with that.
Okay. Okay.
Now, typically, if we are going to edit the document, there are various ways of doing it, but it may be that one way to do it in a future meeting would be once you have your feedback from your neighbors, to take the document paragraph by paragraph. And then if any comments have come in about a certain section, we can address those and then move on to the next paragraph and work through it if we want to do that.
Like paragraph and lines, I can do that.
Oh, cool.
I'm gonna mark up your document to make it be a draft that we can work from.
Yeah, it's your document.
But I think that will be helpful if it's like, okay, paragraph 2, 1, 4.
That would be super cool because then you could send suggestions. Is it okay if they come to you?
Yep.
Then you could send suggestions and then Jerry could add markup either with comment callouts or with inline markup, depending upon what the comments are.
Jerry has to do.
You are an angel, thank you. Appreciate that.
Okay,
It's never easy.
happy to do it. Okay, get my calendar up. So I think next agenda item is going to be scheduling our next meeting. 1 month would be Thursday, July 23rd.
Can't do that.
I can't do that.
Yeah.
We got Friday, we can.
Okay.
I can go before that, but I can't do this one.
Is like the entire week of the 20th out for everybody, or is it that Thursday, like if we did like a Tuesday?
I'll be gone Thursday through Monday.
You know, it's possible. We should also allow for the fact that sometimes not everybody will be able to be here. I cannot be here on the 23rd because my mother's 100th birthday.
You cannot be here on the 23rd.
And so
And we now have, but that makes 3 though.
21st though is another one for now.
The 21st is,
Well, you said Tuesday that week.
that would give us the city council and then the next night.
What about a Wednesday?
They're always trying to get me divorced.
The 22nd,
and it should be at a different project. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, that week.
Okay.
So that's not, just throwing a wrench.
3 weeks.
Now, I could have Travis attend, but he's not a transportation engineer, so he may not have the depth of.
Why don't we do the following week?
Tuesday the 28th. That work?
I'm out of town that whole week.
How about the week of the 18th?
Like 14th or something.
What would the first week of August?
Oh,
So
13th.
the 13th of August? That was
No, July.
14th, 15th, 16th, July.
3 weeks being too tight?
Yeah, we have to get the roll plot together, and then if it takes 2 weeks to get the tree list.
Well, it only takes 1 week to get the tree.
Yeah, cut that in
Move your tree list.
The tree list.
Yeah, I mean, we can
Commit to that, yeah.
Okay, so if we agree to move the tree list
A week.
deadline to the 2nd. We then did a 3-week follow-up on Thursday, the 16th.
July 16th.
Yeah, that works.
And at 6 PM, because I know some people do work till 5:30. Excited.
6 p.m. works for.
Okay, so general, everybody's okay, July 2nd for trees, July 16th for our next meeting.
And ideally feedback to you about the Jim Tall document.
Feedback to me about the Jim Talk document.
And this
July
one too,
9th. I'll lose the night for that one.
this one too.
Can you get? all
This one's
the
a Jim
dates?
Talk.
Yes,
Can you restate that, please?
Yes, so the tree lists are due by July 2nd.
Mhm.
The feedback on the the feedback on the TALT plan is due by July 9th.
I'm gonna tell tree plan.
The TALT tree plan, excuse me, and the next meeting will be Thursday, July 16th, 6 P.M.
Got it.
Awesome sauce.
I want to ask, could we see, could you get this posted on the, River Street portal website to replace or add to any of the existing things? Or maybe you could, well, you probably need to leave the other one, the postage on there for history, but anyway, get this one on the website so citizens can see it. Sure. I think that's,
Emily, any of us, we're all web editors.
Y'all know how to do that?
We are backing ourselves up all the time.
I agree, I think that would be good to have it up in a community facing space. Anything else?
Maybe update it to say that this is the least impactful option now, because it's a lot less impactful than option 3. Yeah, the website, right, says it's the least impactful option.
yeah, you might even consider removing.
Shall, do you mind if I use the expression on the header, something like, option 4 suggested as the least impactful option?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I like what Jim was starting to say.
I've learned to be very precise in what I post.
There's another possibility that I think is worth thinking about. Just scrape those other things off because they're not seriously under consideration anymore. They're obsolete and they will just add to further confusion.
Can I have
Just
a
stick to
motion?
one and say this is the current thing.
You know, like they're going to be archived anyway, 100%.
Okay, so can we very quickly have a motion to delete all of the old plans off of the website for River Street?
No, I'm raising my hand, yes, let's just do it.
What do you need a motion?
Motion.
Oh, you need a motion? I move that we delete the current plans that's on the website, take them off, put number 4 up there as the preferred option.
Motion.
Second, okay. Duly noted, please.
All those in
Oh,
favor?
all in favor?
Aye.
Just a second.
Yeah, I assume
Are you in favor?
Stephen has his hand up. Deal.
Oh,
Deal.
Everyone is in consensus, please archive all old things.
Deal. Off to Oregon Records Management System. They go.
Okay. With that, anything else? The good of the order?